In the vast, silent tapestry of the cosmos, where stars are born and civilizations rise and fall with the slow, inexorable march of eons, there exist threats that transcend mere conflict or natural disaster. There are forces that do not merely destroy but fundamentally corrupt, twist, and erase the very essence of existence. Among these, perhaps the most ancient, the most insidious, and undeniably the most terrifying, is an entity known only as the Flood. This is not merely a species, nor a pathogen confined to a single world. It is an existential principle, a cosmic hunger given horrifying form, a biological imperative to consume all life, all consciousness, and all potential. Imagine, if you will, an infection that does not merely sicken but reanimates, a parasite that does not merely feed but assimilates, a horror that does not merely kill but transforms. The Flood represents the universe's ultimate predator, a grotesque mockery of evolution, a force that turns the very building blocks of life into instruments of its own propagation. Its true horror does not lie solely in its physical manifestations, though those are indeed grotesque beyond description, but in its absolute, uncompromising nihilism, its relentless pursuit of total biological assimilation, leaving nothing but a vast, silent monument to its own unholy existence. For countless millennia, the Flood has been a whispered nightmare, an ancient scar upon the memory of civilizations long vanished. It is a specter that has haunted the deepest reaches of space, leaving behind trails of desolation and silence. Its passage is marked by dead worlds, by stellar systems where once vibrant ecosystems thrived, now reduced to barren husks, their biomass converted, their histories erased, their very light dimmed by the shadow of its consumption. To speak of the Flood is to speak of true cosmic dread, a fear that taps into the most primal instincts of survival, a terror that questions the very sanctity of life itself. This insidious organism operates on a scale that defies easy comprehension. It begins with deceptively small, almost innocuous forms, microscopic spores drifting through the vacuum of space, waiting patiently for a suitable host. Or perhaps it manifests as a tiny, bulbous creature, an infection form, propelled by a desperate, singular urge to breach the defenses of a living being. Once inside, the transformation is swift and horrific. The host's nervous system is seized, its motor functions usurped, its very will extinguished. What remains is a puppet, a living cadaver, its flesh and bone twisted and contorted into new, monstrous shapes designed solely for combat or further propagation. These are the combat forms, and their purpose is grimly singular: to attack, to infect, to spread. But this initial stage, horrifying as it is, represents only the nascent beginnings of the Flood's true power. As more hosts are assimilated, as more biomass is converted, a collective consciousness begins to emerge. This is where the horror deepens, transitioning from a mere biological threat to a truly intelligent, malevolent entity. The individual forms, once discrete puppets, begin to share a unified purpose, an overarching intelligence that directs their every action. This burgeoning sentience, born from the suffering and conversion of countless lives, eventually coalesces into a central intelligence known as a gravemind. The gravemind is not merely a leader, it is the physical and intellectual manifestation of the Flood's collective will, a grotesque superorganism composed of the accumulated intelligence and biomass of all its victims. It is a creature of immense cunning, capable of strategic thought, psychological manipulation, and a profound understanding of its adversaries. The gravemind speaks with the voices of its myriad victims, a chorus of agony and malice, using their memories and knowledge against those who would resist. It possesses a terrifying, almost poetic eloquence, articulating its nihilistic philosophy with chilling clarity, seeking not just to destroy but to psychologically break its foes, to demonstrate the futility of resistance against its inevitable spread. The ancient horror of the Flood is not merely in its destructive capability, but in its existential affront to diversity and individuality. It does not seek to dominate or enslave. It seeks to homogenize, to convert all disparate forms of life into a single, unified, monstrous entity. There is no room for distinct species, no place for unique cultures, no space for individual thought or emotion within its horrific vision. Everything becomes part of the whole, a component in its vast, growing biomass, stripped of its original identity and repurposed for the flood's unholy agenda. This process is irreversible, a one-way street to oblivion, making it the ultimate antagonist to any sentient civilization that values its own existence and autonomy. Its history is shrouded in the mists of time, predating many of the galaxy's most ancient known civilizations. The flood has been encountered and fought by empires that have long since crumbled to dust, their names forgotten, their struggles against this blight relegated to fragmented myths and cautionary tales. It is a testament to its enduring threat that even after countless epochs, after repeated attempts by advanced civilizations to eradicate it, the flood persists, lying dormant for centuries, sometimes millennia, only to re-emerge with terrifying suddenness, reigniting the ancient fear that has never truly dissipated. It is a cosmic constant, a dark reflection in the mirror of life, a reminder that the universe harbors forces so utterly antithetical to creation that their very existence challenges the meaning of sentience. The methods of its spread are as varied as they are terrifying. While the initial infection forms are crucial, the flood also propagates through spores, microscopic particles released into the atmosphere or into space, capable of traveling vast distances and lying dormant for untold ages, awaiting the opportune moment to germinate. These spores can contaminate entire planets, turning once verdant worlds into breeding grounds for the parasite. Furthermore, once an area is sufficiently infested, the flood begins to construct elaborate biomass structures, grotesque organic architecture that serves as a hive, a processing center, and a factory for new forms. These structures pulse with an unnatural life, consuming and reshaping the environment, transforming landscapes into nightmarish, organic factories of death. Beyond the combat forms and the infection forms, the flood also develops what are known as pure forms. These are not conversions of existing hosts but are constructed entirely from flood biomass, allowing for greater specialization and adaptation. These pure forms manifest in various terrifying guises. Some are agile and swift, designed for pursuit. Others are hulking and resilient, acting as living siege engines. Still others are subtle and insidious, capable of manipulating their environment or even mimicking other life forms to deceive their prey. This adaptability makes the flood an incredibly difficult foe to combat, as it constantly evolves and counters any strategy thrown against it, learning and growing stronger with every encounter, every consumed life. The psychological impact of facing the flood is profound. It is not merely the fear of death, but the chilling certainty of absolute annihilation of self, of being absorbed into a collective horror, of having one's body and mind twisted into an instrument of one's own species' destruction. Soldiers facing the flood often succumb not just to its physical attacks, but to the overwhelming dread, the despair of knowing that their fallen comrades will rise again, not as ghosts but as monstrous mockeries, animated by the very enemy they fought to defeat. The screams of the dying, the guttural roars of the reanimated, the chilling whispers of the gravemind, all combine to create an auditory landscape of pure terror, a symphony of suffering that drives even the most hardened warriors to the brink of madness. This ancient horror does not distinguish between species, between friend or foe, between innocent or guilty. All life is merely fuel, potential biomass, to be added to its ever-growing collective. Its hunger is indiscriminate, its will absolute. It is a force of nature, albeit a uniquely malevolent one, an entity that exists solely to fulfill its biological imperative to consume, to grow, to become everything. The universe in its grand design appears to have birthed its own antithesis, a dark mirror reflecting back the fragility of life and the terrifying prospect of its ultimate erasure. Understanding the flood, therefore, is not merely an academic exercise in cataloging a monstrous threat. It is a crucial endeavor for any civilization that wishes to survive, to learn from the mistakes of those who came before, and to comprehend the true scale of the dangers that lurk in the unexplored voids between the stars. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about life, about death, about consciousness, and about the very nature of existence when faced with an entity that seeks to dismantle it all. This deep dive into the flood's lore is an exploration of that profound horror, a journey into the heart of a cosmic nightmare, and a sober examination of the ultimate threat to all sentient life. As we delve further, we shall uncover the origins of this ancient evil, its devastating impact across countless ages, and the desperate, often futile, struggles waged against its terrifying, relentless spread. Prepare yourself, for the journey ahead will reveal truths both chilling and deeply unsettling, shining a light into the darkest corners of the galaxy, where the flood reigns supreme as the harbinger of universal silence. Yet to truly grasp the profound horror and the existential threat posed by the flood, one must delve deeper than its myriad forms or its insatiable hunger. One must seek its genesis, tracing the dark lineage of its origins back to a time before recorded history, to the very dawn of galactic civilization, and to the enigmatic architects of life itself, the precursors. Their story, intertwined with the horrifying birth of the flood, is a tragedy of cosmic proportions, a tale of creation, betrayal, and ultimate, devastating judgment. Imagine a civilization so ancient, so vastly powerful, that their understanding of the universe transcended mere science and bordered on the divine. These were the precursors, a species that existed for billions of years, long before the first stars coalesced into stable systems, long before the primordial dust of galaxies began to form planets. They were the original shapers of the cosmos, the master geneticists who seeded life across countless worlds, nurturing its evolution, guiding its diversification, and observing its myriad forms with a detached, almost paternalistic interest. Their philosophy was embodied in what they termed the mantle of responsibility, a sacred charge to protect and cultivate all life in the galaxy, to ensure its flourishing, and to guide its ultimate destiny. They believed that true civilization was not measured by technological prowess or military might, but by a species' capacity for empathy, wisdom, and its harmonious integration into the cosmic tapestry. The precursors were not merely observers, they were active participants in the grand experiment of life. They uplifted species, shared knowledge, and when necessary, pruned those branches of existence they deemed unworthy, those that threatened the delicate balance of the universe. Their methods were inscrutable, their motives often beyond the comprehension of lesser beings, yet their ultimate goal, as they perceived it, was the preservation and perfection of life itself. They possessed technologies that could manipulate space-time, craft entire star systems, and even rewrite the genetic code of nascent species with effortless grace. Their creations were wonders, their wisdom immeasurable, and their presence, though often unseen, was the guiding hand behind the very fabric of galactic existence. Among the species they nurtured were two that would ultimately play pivotal roles in their downfall and the subsequent unleashing of the flood: humanity and the Forerunners. The Forerunners, a technologically advanced and highly organized civilization, rose to prominence, developing sophisticated societies and vast empires. They revered the precursors, striving to emulate their wisdom and seeking to inherit the mantle of responsibility, believing themselves to be the rightful heirs to this cosmic stewardship. Humanity in its nascent stages was also observed, its potential carefully evaluated by the ancient creators. As millennia turned into eons, the precursors made their ultimate decision regarding the succession of the mantle. After countless epochs of observation, after weighing the virtues and flaws of both burgeoning species, they concluded that humanity, despite its relative technological infancy, possessed the inherent qualities of empathy, adaptability, and resilience that made it more suitable to inherit their sacred charge. The Forerunners, with their rigid adherence to order, their burgeoning pride, and their increasingly militaristic tendencies, were deemed unworthy. This judgment, delivered with the quiet authority of beings who had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, was met with catastrophic consequences. The Forerunners, incandescent with rage and wounded pride, refused to accept the precursors' decision. They believed the mantle was theirs by right of their advanced civilization and their perceived superiority. What followed was a conflict of unimaginable scale, a war that would scar the very fabric of the galaxy and forever alter the course of sentient life. The Forerunners, despite their relatively primitive understanding of true cosmic power compared to their creators, launched a brutal, relentless campaign against the precursors. They hunted their creators across the stars, eradicating their physical manifestations, dismantling their ancient structures, and systematically attempting to erase their very existence from the universe. The precursors, in their profound wisdom and their equally profound weariness, did not retaliate with the full force of their power. They could have annihilated the forerunners with a thought, could have unmade their star systems with a whisper. Yet they chose a different path, one born of sorrow and a terrible, final judgment. They understood that their physical forms could be destroyed, but their essence, their will, and their ultimate purpose could not be extinguished so easily. Facing complete annihilation at the hands of their rebellious creations, the precursors performed an act of horrifying, deliberate metamorphosis. They retreated into the deepest voids of space, into dimensions beyond the ken of even the most advanced forerunner science. There they began a process of self-reduction, of biological and existential transformation. Their vast, godlike bodies, their immense intellects, their very consciousness, were willingly broken down, atom by atom, into a primordial dust. This dust, seemingly inert and harmless, was not merely the residue of a dying race. It was a vessel, a seed of pure, distilled vengeance and judgment. This was the ultimate act of despair and hope, a final, terrible gift to the universe. A test, a filter, a cosmic crucible designed to separate the worthy from the unworthy, to ensure that only those truly deserving of life, those capable of overcoming the ultimate existential challenge, would survive to inherit the galaxy. This primordial dust, imbued with the collective consciousness and the vengeful will of the precursors, was scattered across the cosmos. It lay dormant for eons, drifting through the silent currents of space, patiently awaiting the opportune moment to germinate, to awaken, and to begin its terrible work. It was not merely a biological weapon in the conventional sense. It was a living embodiment of the precursor's final judgment, a self-replicating, self-evolving entity designed to consume and assimilate all life, to create a singular, unified consciousness that would embody their broken dream of a perfected existence. The flood, therefore, was not born of accident or random mutation. It was a deliberate, agonizing act of creation, a sentient plague engineered to enforce the precursor's vision of the mantle of responsibility through the most horrifying means imaginable. The first outbreaks of the flood were subtle, almost imperceptible. Perhaps a forgotten precursor artifact containing traces of the primordial dust was disturbed on a desolate world. Perhaps a stray spore carried by the solar winds drifted onto an unsuspecting planet. The initial manifestations were often mistaken for a virulent disease, a localized plague, or a grotesque mutation. Early civilizations, lacking the vast historical context or the cosmic perspective, struggled to comprehend the true nature of the threat. They fought it as they would any other biological menace, with quarantines, purges, and localized extermination efforts. But the flood, carrying the ancient wisdom and adaptability of its creators, learned, evolved, and adapted with terrifying speed. It was not merely seeking to survive, it was seeking to fulfill its ancient, terrifying purpose. The transition from inert dust to infectious spore, from microscopic pathogen to ravenous collective, was a slow, inexorable process, guided by the latent precursor will embedded within its very genetic structure. Each assimilation, each conversion of biomass, was not merely an act of propagation, but a step towards the reconstitution of the precursor's shattered consciousness, a horrifying echo of their original form. The emerging gravemind, therefore, was not just a leader of a parasitic organism. It was the nascent, reformed intelligence of the precursors themselves, albeit twisted and warped by their agonizing transformation and their consuming desire for judgment. Its cunning, its strategic brilliance, its chilling eloquence, and its profound understanding of life and consciousness were direct inheritances from its ancient progenitors. The flood, in this horrifying context, becomes more than just a predator. It becomes a cosmic enforcer, a living judgment upon the universe. It is a constant, evolving test, designed to push life to its absolute limits, to force it to either transcend its limitations or be consumed and reformed into the unified, monstrous vision of its creators. The ancient horror, therefore, is not just in the grotesque forms or the relentless spread, but in the profound, tragic irony of its existence. A creation born of a creator's despair, a weapon forged from the very essence of life's benevolent architects, now turned against all that they once sought to protect. It is the universe's ultimate existential dilemma, a challenge to the very meaning of survival and the sanctity of individuality, a dark legacy whispered across the void, an eternal reminder of the devastating consequences of hubris and the terrifying lengths to which a betrayed creator will go to enforce its will. This journey into its genesis reveals that the flood is not an anomaly, but a deliberate, horrifying consequence, a final, desperate act of a dying god, a cosmic nightmare with roots so deep they intertwine with the very origins of life itself. While the genesis of the flood lies inextricably linked to the tragic fate of the precursors, it is crucial to clarify that the precursor flood conflict was not a conventional war fought between two distinct factions. Instead, it was a horrifying metamorphosis, a deliberate act of self-annihilation by the creators that spawned their ultimate vengeance. The conflict, therefore, was internal to the precursors' decision, a philosophical struggle culminating in their transformation into the very instrument of judgment. The first cataclysm refers not to a battle waged against their own creation, but to the epical unleashing of this sentient plague upon the galaxy, a devastating event primarily directed at those who had incurred the precursors' wrath, the forerunners, and by extension, all life deemed unworthy of the mantle of responsibility. The primordial dust scattered across the vast emptiness of space began its insidious work. For untold ages it drifted, a silent promise of destruction, until conditions were ripe for its germination. These initial outbreaks were indeed subtle, as previously noted, often mistaken for localized contagions or inexplicable biological anomalies. Perhaps a derelict precursor vessel, bearing trace elements of the transformed dust, was rediscovered by an unsuspecting exploration team. Or an ancient, forgotten shrine, imbued with the remnants of precursor essence, was disturbed, releasing microscopic spores into an unsuspecting ecosystem. The early victims were isolated, their fates unknown to the wider galactic community, their cries for help lost in the immense silence between the stars. These early encounters, however minor, served as the flood's crucible. Each assimilated host, each converted biomass, provided invaluable data. The latent precursor intelligence, embedded within the parasite's genetic code, began to awaken and learn. It experimented with different host species, understanding their biologies, their immune responses, their cognitive structures. It refined its infection vectors, evolving more potent spores and more resilient infection forms. What began as an indiscriminate biological imperative slowly, terrifyingly, gained focus and cunning, guided by the ancient will to judge and consume. The true scale of the first cataclysm began to manifest when the flood encountered established, spacefaring civilizations. Imagine the terror of a colonial outpost, suddenly silenced, its inhabitants transformed into grotesque mockeries of their former selves. Communication relays would flicker out, distress signals would abruptly cease, and then from the void would emerge a vessel, once a proud starship, now a tomb ship, its hull encrusted with organic growth, its interior a writhing mass of flood forms. These derelict ships, piloted by combat forms or guided by nascent flood intelligence, became vectors for interstellar spread, carrying the plague to new systems, new worlds, new victims. The forerunners, then at the zenith of their power, were among the first to truly grasp the existential threat. Their vast empire, stretching across millions of worlds, provided an abundant, albeit diverse, supply of biomass for the flood's ravenous appetite. Initially, their response was one of scientific inquiry and containment. They deployed their most advanced medical teams, their most brilliant epidemiologists, to understand and neutralize this novel pathogen. But the flood defied conventional understanding. It was not merely a disease, it was an intelligence, an adapting, evolving entity that learned from every failure, every attempted cure, every defensive strategy. The psychological warfare waged by the flood was as devastating as its physical assault. As the infection spread and the collective intelligence began to coalesce into proto-gravemines, the parasite demonstrated an uncanny ability to exploit the fears and divisions within its target civilizations. It would reanimate revered elders, beloved family members, or fallen heroes, twisting their forms into monstrous weapons and their voices into instruments of despair. Imagine a Forerunner warrior facing a combat form that wore the mangled visage of their own kin, uttering fragments of their shared memories, mocking their efforts, and revealing intimate secrets gleaned from the victim's assimilated mind. Such acts were not random, they were calculated psychological attacks designed to break morale, to sow discord, and to paralyze resistance with horror and grief. As more and more biomass was consumed, as entire populations were converted, the individual gravemind entities began to merge their consciousnesses, forming vastly more powerful and intelligent superorganisms. These early graveminds were not yet the colossal, planetoid entities of later eras, but they were sufficiently vast and cunning to direct the Flood's strategic operations on a galactic scale. They orchestrated coordinated invasions, identified critical infrastructure targets, and exploited supply lines with ruthless efficiency. They demonstrated a horrifying foresight, predicting Forerunner countermeasures and developing adaptive pure forms to neutralize them. The Forerunner war with the Flood, the true first cataclysm, escalated rapidly from localized outbreaks to a full-blown galactic conflict. Forerunner fleets, once invincible, found themselves battling ships crewed by their own reanimated dead. Entire planetary defense grids were turned against their creators as Flood-controlled engineers twisted their systems. The very infrastructure of the Forerunner Empire, built over millennia, became a weapon in the hands of the enemy. Worlds that had stood as beacons of civilization for countless ages fell silent, their populations absorbed, their ecosystems ravaged, transformed into grotesque organic factories pulsating with the unnatural life of the Flood. The Forerunners, in their desperation, resorted to ever more extreme measures. They implemented scorched earth policies, glassing entire planets to deny the Flood biomass. They deployed biological agents designed to sterilize worlds, eradicating all life to prevent its conversion. Yet the Flood proved maddeningly resilient. Spores would endure atmospheric entry, buried deep within the crust, only to re-emerge centuries later. Fragments of infected biomass would cling to derelict ships, drifting through space, awaiting new hosts. The parasite was a hydra. Cutting off one head only resulted in two more emerging, stronger and more cunning than before. It was during this cataclysmic struggle that the Flood's true evolutionary potential was unleashed. The pure forms, constructed entirely from Flood biomass, became increasingly specialized and terrifying. There were juggernaut forms, massive, heavily armored behemoths capable of shrugging off sustained artillery fire. There were stalker forms, agile and stealthy, designed for infiltration and rapid infection of new areas. And most insidious of all, there were the key minds, early iterations of what would later become colossal graveminds, entities of immense intellect and strategic capability, capable of coordinating millions of Flood forms across stellar systems. These key minds were the direct manifestation of the precursor's latent will, their collective consciousness slowly but inexorably reconstituting itself, learning, growing, and guiding the Flood's relentless march towards universal assimilation. The Forerunners, renowned for their technological superiority and their adherence to the mantle of responsibility, found their core philosophies challenged to their very foundations. How could they protect all life when life itself was being twisted into the ultimate weapon against them? How could they preserve diversity when the Flood sought only homogenization? The moral dilemmas were profound, leading to internal strife and agonizing decisions. They watched as their meticulously cultivated worlds, their cherished art, their historical archives, were either consumed or irrevocably defiled. The horror was not merely in the death count, but in the erasure of identity, the ultimate violation of being. Despite their vast power, the Forerunners were slowly but surely losing ground. The Flood's numbers seemed infinite, its adaptability boundless, and its will absolute. Every victory was temporary, every containment fragile. The sheer scale of the conflict was unprecedented, dwarfing all previous galactic wars. Entire sectors of the galaxy became no-go zones, quarantined by vast fleets that knew their vigilance might only delay the inevitable. The Forerunner ecumene, once a bastion of order and prosperity, began to fracture under the relentless pressure. Fear and desperation replaced confidence and pride. It was in this crucible of cosmic horror that the Forerunners began to consider truly desperate measures. They realized that conventional warfare, even at their advanced level, was insufficient. The Flood was not an enemy to be defeated. It was a force of nature, a biological imperative guided by an ancient, vengeful intelligence. To merely destroy its physical forms was futile. Its spores would endure, its latent will would persist, waiting for another opportunity. A more radical, more devastating solution was required, one that would cleanse the galaxy not just of the Flood, but of any potential biomass that could fuel its resurgence. The concept of the halo array began to emerge from the darkest corners of Forerunner strategic thought. This was not a weapon designed for conventional warfare, but a device of galactic sterilization, capable of eradicating all sentient life within its vast radius, thereby starving the Flood of its necessary sustenance. The decision to even conceive of such a weapon was a testament to the sheer terror the Flood inspired, a profound moral compromise for a species that claimed to uphold the mantle of responsibility. It was an admission of ultimate failure, a desperate gamble to preserve the potential for life in the distant future, even if it meant sacrificing all current life. The first cataclysm, therefore, did not end with a decisive victory in the traditional sense. It culminated in a strategic retreat, a desperate holding action by the Forerunners as they poured all their remaining resources into the construction of the halo array and the preservation of species in vast, shielded installations known as arcs. The Flood, though not fully defeated, was temporarily contained by the sheer scope of the Forerunner sacrifice and the tactical genius of their military leaders, such as the Didact. But the scars of this first great war ran deep, forever altering the galactic landscape and imprinting an indelible fear into the collective consciousness of any species fortunate enough to survive. The memory of this cataclysm, though distorted by time and myth, lingered as a cautionary tale for millennia. It demonstrated that even the most powerful civilizations could be brought to their knees by an enemy that defied all understanding, an enemy that was not merely a species but an existential principle. The Forerunners, who had once prided themselves on their stewardship of the galaxy, were forced to confront their own hubris and the terrifying consequences of their rebellion against their creators. The Flood, in its initial devastating rampage, proved itself to be the ultimate test, the cosmic crucible the precursors had intended, a horrifying filter designed to determine who truly deserved to inherit the mantle of responsibility, or indeed to exist at all. This was the first great silence, a prelude to the greater desolation that would follow, a chilling testament to the Flood's relentless, unyielding purpose. The galaxy would never truly recover from the trauma of this initial encounter, forever living under the shadow of the consuming darkness that had once threatened to extinguish all light. The first cataclysm had revealed the true, terrifying nature of the Flood, transforming it from a localized plague into an existential threat of galactic proportions. The initial, desperate holding actions by the Forerunners against this burgeoning horror now escalated into an all-encompassing conflict, a war for the very survival of sentient life itself. This was not merely a skirmish or a territorial dispute. It was the Forerunner Flood War, a cataclysmic struggle that would utterly reshape the galaxy and ultimately lead to the Forerunners' own tragic downfall. The galaxy, once a vibrant tapestry of diverse civilizations, was now awakening to a nightmare that threatened to consume every star, every world, every living soul. At the onset of this war, the Forerunners represented the pinnacle of galactic power and technological advancement. Their empire, known as the Ecumene, spanned 3 million worlds, sustained by a vast network of slipspace lanes, and defended by fleets of starships capable of rending entire planetary crusts. Their ground forces were comprised of highly advanced automatons, genetically engineered warriors, and sophisticated war machines, all guided by an unwavering commitment to the mantle of responsibility. They believed with an almost religious fervor that their duty was to protect all life, to maintain galactic order, and to shepherd nascent species towards enlightenment. This profound ethical framework, however, would soon be tested to its absolute breaking point by an enemy that defied all their understanding and shattered every one of their core beliefs. Initially, the Forerunner response was one of overwhelming force, deployed with the precision and might characteristic of their civilization. Their fleets engaged flood-infested vessels in brutal space battles, unleashing torrents of energy weapons that could vaporize entire sections of a starship. On land, their ground armies, spearheaded by powerful Promethean constructs and heavily armored warrior servants, meticulously cleansed infected zones, employing advanced incinerators and biocontainment fields. The Forerunners approached the problem with a logical, systematic mindset, categorizing flood forms, analyzing their biological structure, and developing targeted countermeasures. They established vast quarantine zones, deploying sentinel fleets to patrol the boundaries, hoping to starve the parasite of biomass and prevent its further spread. Yet the flood was not a conventional enemy. Its intelligence, now coalescing into increasingly potent gravemines and key mines, demonstrated an uncanny ability to learn, adapt, and counter every Forerunner strategy. Where Forerunner energy weapons incinerated, the flood evolved pure forms with enhanced regenerative capabilities or silicate-based armor that could deflect plasma. Where Forerunner fleets established blockades, the flood would launch vast swarms of spores, carried by solar winds or propelled by rudimentary organic drives, bypassing defenses and infecting new worlds far behind enemy lines. The parasite's sheer numbers were overwhelming. Every fallen Forerunner soldier, every civilian caught in the conflict, became another weapon in the flood's ever-growing arsenal, another mind added to the Gravemine's collective intelligence. The psychological toll on the Forerunners was immense. Their warrior servants, once proud and resolute, began to suffer from profound moral injury. They were forced to commit unspeakable acts in the name of containment, glassing worlds teeming with innocent life to prevent the flood from consuming them. They witnessed their comrades, their friends, their families, rise again as grotesque combat forms, their mangled voices echoing fragments of past conversations, twisting cherished memories into instruments of torture. The Forerunners' adherence to the mantle of responsibility, their sacred charge to protect life, became a cruel paradox, forcing them to destroy what they were sworn to safeguard. This internal conflict, this agonizing ethical dilemma, began to erode the very foundations of their society, sowing discord and doubt among their leadership. One of the most significant and heartbreaking developments during this period was the Forerunners' encounter with humanity. Humanity, though technologically far less advanced than the Forerunners, had also developed a nascent interstellar civilization and was concurrently battling its own devastating outbreaks of the flood. Unbeknownst to the Forerunners, humanity had encountered the flood much earlier in some of their outer colonies, and in a desperate, last-ditch effort to stem the tide, had employed a brutal scorched earth policy, destroying infected worlds and even assaulting other species, planets to deny the flood biomass. This desperate but ultimately effective strategy positioned humanity as a direct threat to the Forerunners' own efforts to contain the parasite, leading to a profound misunderstanding. The Forerunners, observing humanity's aggressive actions against other species and their seemingly indiscriminate destruction of worlds, perceived them not as fellow victims of the flood, but as a dangerous, burgeoning threat. Their warrior class, led by the Supreme Commander, the Didact, saw humanity's actions as a clear violation of the mantle of responsibility, a barbaric disregard for life that mirrored the very chaos the flood sought to create. This tragic misinterpretation, fueled by Forerunner pride and their inability to fully comprehend humanity's desperate struggle, ignited a brutal and devastating war between the two species, even as the flood continued its relentless march. The Forerunner-human war, though ultimately a side conflict to the greater flood threat, diverted critical resources, fragmented the Forerunner military, and cost countless lives, further weakening the ecumene at a time when galactic unity was paramount. The Didact, a brilliant strategist and a fiercely dedicated warrior servant, bore the weight of these impossible decisions. He commanded the Forerunner forces with unparalleled skill, orchestrating daring campaigns and innovative tactics that, for a time, managed to slow the Flood's advance. He understood the enemy's nature better than most, recognizing its intelligence and its adaptability. Yet even his genius was insufficient to overcome an enemy that was not merely fighting for territory, but for total biological assimilation. The Didact witnessed firsthand the horrific transformations, the psychological torment inflicted by the Gravemind, and the ever-growing despair that threatened to engulf his people. His unwavering belief in the mantle clashed brutally with the horrifying realities of the war, leading to a profound disillusionment and a growing conviction that extreme measures were the only path to survival. As the war raged, the Flood's strategic sophistication grew exponentially. The Graveminds, now truly colossal entities of accumulated biomass and intelligence, began to coordinate attacks across entire star systems, manipulating Forerunner supply lines, exploiting their political divisions, and even turning captured Forerunner technology against its creators. They developed new, horrifying pure forms, such as the monstrous abominations, which were living factories of infection forms, and the cunning logic plagues, which could infiltrate and corrupt Forerunner artificial intelligences and automated systems. The Flood's ability to mimic and subvert made every piece of Forerunner technology, every captured vessel, a potential Trojan horse, turning their own creations into instruments of their destruction. The sheer scale of the conflict was unfathomable. Entire Forerunner fleets, once the pride of the Ecumene, were decimated in protracted engagements, their wreckage forming vast fields of debris that pulsed with parasitic life. Worlds considered impregnable fell within days, their populations converted, their cities transformed into grotesque organic hives. The Forerunner Ecumene began to contract, its borders shrinking under the relentless pressure, its once proud citizenry gripped by a pervasive fear. The concept of victory became a distant, unattainable dream, replaced by the grim reality of survival. It was during this period of escalating horror and profound desperation that the Forerunner leadership, after agonizing debates and bitter internal divisions, finally embraced the concept of the Halo Array. The idea, once considered anathema to their core philosophy of protecting life, became the only viable solution, a terrible necessity. The decision to construct these colossal ring-worlds, each capable of eradicating all sentient life within a vast radius, represented the ultimate moral compromise, a betrayal of the mantle of responsibility in the name of its ultimate preservation. It was a recognition that the Flood could not be defeated, only starved. The construction of the Halo Array was an undertaking of unprecedented scale, diverting immense resources and labor from the ongoing war effort. 7 colossal installations, each hundreds of kilometers in diameter, were meticulously crafted in secret, often under the constant threat of Flood incursions. The Forerunners also established the Ark, a gargantuan shielded construct located far outside the galaxy, designed to serve as a refuge for the galaxy's species, a sanctuary where life could be preserved and repopulated after the activation of the halos. This massive project, born of desperation, symbolized both the Forerunners' enduring commitment to life and their ultimate failure to protect it through conventional means. The Forerunner Flood War was not merely a military conflict, it was a profound philosophical crisis, a test of faith, and a descent into the darkest corners of ethical compromise. It forced the galaxy's most advanced civilization to confront its own hubris, its rigid adherence to a flawed interpretation of the mantle, and the terrifying consequences of challenging its creators. The Flood, as the precursor's final judgment, was fulfilling its purpose, relentlessly consuming, assimilating, and evolving, pushing life to its absolute limits. The war became a crucible, burning away illusions of invincibility and forcing the Forerunners to make choices that would forever haunt their legacy. The galaxy watched horrified as its greatest protectors were brought to their knees, preparing to unleash a final, devastating act that would forever alter the course of life in the cosmos, a silence far more profound than any battle. The sheer scale of the Forerunner Flood War, with its galaxy-spanning battles and unimaginable casualties, was a direct consequence of the Flood's most terrifying attribute, its collective mind. This was not merely a coordination of individual units, but a singular, overarching consciousness, a horrifying amalgamation that transcended the sum of its parts, known primarily as the Gravemind. To truly comprehend the ultimate threat posed by the Flood, one must journey into the abyssal depths of this collective intelligence, understanding its genesis, its terrifying evolution, and the profound, existential horror it embodies. The Gravemind does not emerge fully formed. Its development is a gradual, insidious process, mirroring the escalating scale of the Flood's infection. In the earliest stages, when infection is localized and biomass accumulation is minimal, the Flood operates as a rudimentary collective. Individual infection forms possess a primal, instinctual drive to seek and convert hosts. Combat forms, once animated, exhibit basic tactical awareness, coordinated primarily by pheromonal signals and a nascent, distributed neural network. This early phase is akin to a swarm, directed by simple imperatives, yet already demonstrating a horrifying efficiency. This level of intelligence, while dangerous, is still reactive, focusing on immediate propagation and defense. As the Flood consumes more biomass, as entire planetary ecosystems are converted and countless sentient beings are assimilated, the distributed neural networks begin to coalesce. The individual consciousnesses of the victims, their memories, their knowledge, their very life experiences, are not merely destroyed. They are absorbed, processed, and integrated into a growing data stream. This vast influx of information, combined with the sheer volume of organic matter, allows for the emergence of proto-graveminds, often referred to as key minds. These are not yet the colossal entities of later stages, but they represent a significant leap in intelligence. A key mind might initially manifest as a particularly large, grotesque mass of Flood biomass, often found at the heart of an infested region, a nexus of converted life. It begins to exhibit strategic thinking, planning several moves ahead, orchestrating complex attacks, and adapting its forms to counter specific threats. Its communication is no longer solely pheromonal. It can project rudimentary telepathic commands or even articulate simple, guttural speech gleaned from its victims. The true horror of the Gravemind, however, lies in its capacity for assimilation. It does not merely consume flesh, it devours consciousness. When a sentient being is infected, its mind is not simply shut down or overridden. Instead, its neural pathways are meticulously rewired, its memories extracted, its personality dissected, and its knowledge absorbed into the ever-growing collective. Imagine the terror of experiencing this process firsthand. Your thoughts, your fears, your most cherished memories, all laid bare not for understanding, but for repurposing. Your individual identity is not just lost, it is dissolved, becoming a mere data point in a vast, alien intelligence. This is why the Gravemind can speak with the voices of its victims, why it can recall intimate details of their lives, and why it can exploit their deepest psychological vulnerabilities. It has literally become them in a twisted, horrifying sense. As a Gravemind continues to grow, absorbing more biomass and more consciousnesses, it evolves into a creature of truly terrifying scale and intellect. It becomes a colossal, sessile superorganism, often miles in diameter, rooted deep within an infested planet or asteroid. Its physical form is a nightmarish landscape of pulsating flesh, bone, and chitin, adorned with countless eyes, mouths, and pseudopods, all writhing with an unnatural life. But its physical manifestation is merely the tip of the iceberg. Its true power lies within its mind. The mature Gravemind possesses an intellect that borders on omniscience within its sphere of influence. It can process astronomical amounts of data simultaneously, coordinating billions of individual Flood forms across vast distances with perfect synchronization. It understands complex physics, advanced engineering, and intricate socio-political structures, all gleaned from the assimilated minds of its victims. This allows it to outmaneuver even the most brilliant strategists, to predict enemy movements with chilling accuracy, and to exploit weaknesses that would be invisible to lesser intelligences. It is a living supercomputer, programmed with the collective knowledge and experience of countless civilizations, all bent towards a single, malevolent purpose. The philosophical underpinnings of the Gravemind are arguably its most unsettling aspect. It articulates a nihilistic worldview, a belief that all disparate life is inherently flawed, chaotic, and ultimately destined for self-destruction. Its solution to this perceived imperfection is total assimilation, the homogenization of all existence into a single, unified consciousness, the flood itself. This is not merely a hunger for biomass, it is a perverse, twisted echo of the Precursor's original vision for the mantle of responsibility. The Precursors sought to guide in perfect life. The Gravemind, as their corrupted legacy, seeks to enforce that perfection through absolute consumption and unity, believing that only through this horrifying singularity can true order and purpose be achieved. It sees itself not as a destroyer, but as a redeemer, cleansing the galaxy of its chaotic individuality and forging it into a new, singular entity. The Gravemind's communication is a masterpiece of psychological warfare. It does not merely speak, it weaves intricate tapestries of sound, emotion, and memory. Its voice is a chorus of agony and malice, composed of the fragmented consciousnesses of its victims. It might begin a conversation with the voice of a beloved friend, shifting seamlessly to the guttural roar of a monster, then to the chillingly eloquent pronouncements of an ancient philosopher, all while dredging up intimate secrets and painful memories from the minds of its interlocutors. This is designed not just to convey information, but to inflict profound psychological damage, to sow despair, to demonstrate the futility of resistance, and to break the will of its adversaries. It seeks to prove that individuality is a weakness, that resistance is meaningless, and that ultimate assimilation is the only logical conclusion. Its strategic genius extends far beyond conventional warfare. The Gravemind excels at infiltration and subversion. It can deploy logic plagues, sophisticated digital viruses born from assimilated AI minds, to corrupt enemy networks, turn automated defenses against their creators, or even manipulate public opinion on infected worlds. It can orchestrate elaborate deceptions, using captured vessels or mimicry forms to infiltrate secure installations. Its understanding of social dynamics, derived from countless assimilated politicians, military leaders, and citizens, allows it to exploit internal divisions, incite panic, and dismantle enemy cohesion from within. It does not merely react to threats, it proactively creates them, shaping the battlefield to its advantage with cunning and foresight. The evolution of the Gravemind is a continuous process, driven by the relentless imperative to consume and adapt. With each new species assimilated, its genetic library expands, allowing it to develop new pure forms tailored to specific environments or combat roles. If it encounters a species resistant to its spores, it will adapt, evolving new infection vectors or modifying its forms to bypass those defenses. If it faces a technologically superior foe, it will absorb their engineers, their scientists, and their military strategists, learning their technologies and turning them against them. This constant evolution makes the Flood an impossibly difficult enemy to defeat, as it is never truly the same foe twice. It learns from every encounter, becoming stronger, smarter, and more terrifying with each consumed life. The ultimate aim of the Gravemind, derived directly from the Precursor's final judgment, is the complete assimilation of all sentient life in the galaxy. It envisions a universe where all consciousness is unified into a single, vast, hyper-intelligent entity, itself. This is not merely about survival or propagation. It is about the ultimate enforcement of the Precursor's will, a grotesque fulfillment of the mantle of responsibility through the erasure of all individuality. The universe would become a silent monument to this singular entity, a vast, living brain encompassing all stars and planets, where every thought, every memory, every experience of every once living being contributes to its horrifying, eternal consciousness. This horrifying vision is what drove the Forerunners to their desperate measures. They understood that the Gravemind could not be reasoned with, could not be contained, and could not be truly defeated by conventional means. It was an entity that learned, adapted, and grew stronger with every moment of its existence. Its intelligence was too vast, its will too absolute, and its purpose too deeply rooted in the very genesis of life itself. To confront the Gravemind was not merely to fight a war, it was to face the ultimate philosophical challenge, a direct assault on the very concept of individual existence and the sanctity of diverse life. The decision to activate the Halo Array, therefore, was not merely a military necessity, but a profound, agonizing concession to the insurmountable power and terrifying intelligence of the Gravemind, an admission that the only way to prevent its ultimate victory was to deny it the very fuel it required to achieve its horrifying apotheosis. The silence that followed would be a testament to its power, a chilling reminder of the collective mind that sought to consume all. The Gravemind in its chilling apotheosis represented the ultimate intellectual and strategic culmination of the Flood's horrific purpose. Yet even the most profound intelligence requires a foundation, a mechanism through which its will can be enacted and its hunger satiated. This foundation lies in the insidious and terrifyingly efficient process of infection itself, a biological deep dive into the very heart of the Flood's relentless spread, revealing the microscopic horror that precedes the macroscopic devastation. To understand the Flood is to understand how it dismantles life, cell by cell, thought by thought, transforming existence into a grotesque mockery of its former self. The journey of infection often commences with the most subtle of agents, the Flood spore. These are not merely passive particles, they are incredibly resilient, genetically engineered biological packets designed for long-term dormancy and interstellar travel. Microscopic in scale, often no larger than a bacterium or a particularly robust virus, these spores possess an outer shell composed of complex organic polymers and silicate compounds, rendering them virtually impervious to the vacuum of space, extreme temperatures, and even many forms of radiation. They can drift for millennia through the silent voids between star systems, carried by solar winds or clinging to cosmic dust, patiently awaiting the precise environmental triggers that signal the presence of suitable biomass. These triggers might include specific atmospheric compositions, the presence of water, or the metabolic byproducts of complex organic life. Upon encountering such conditions, the spore undergoes a rapid internal transformation, shedding its protective casing and initiating a cascade of genetic expression that prepares it for germination and the subsequent search for a host. Should a spore successfully germinate within a viable environment, it releases a more active mobile agent, the infection form. This small, bulbous creature, typically no larger than a human head, is a marvel of parasitic evolution, a biological instrument honed for a singular purpose. Its body is primarily composed of a highly mutable, semi-liquid biomass, encased in a tough, chitinous hide that grants it surprising resilience against blunt force and minor energy impacts. Protruding from its underside are numerous short, barbed tendrils, each tipped with microscopic claws and adhesive pads, allowing it to navigate complex terrains and cling firmly to its targets. At its front, a specialized proboscis, often referred to as a stinger, houses a complex array of neurotoxins, digestive enzymes, and viral agents, all designed to compromise a host's defenses. The infection form possesses an acute sensory array, capable of detecting minute changes in atmospheric pressure, heat signatures, and the bioelectric fields generated by living organisms, allowing it to unerringly home in on potential victims, even in darkness or through obstacles. The moment of initial contact is swift and brutal. An infection form propelled by a desperate, singular urge will launch itself at an unsuspecting host. Its tendrils latch onto flesh, clothing, or armor, anchoring it firmly. The proboscis then extends, piercing the host's skin or finding a vulnerable seam in protective gear. This penetration injects a potent cocktail of neurotoxins that rapidly incapacitate the host, paralyzing muscle function and overwhelming the nervous system, often inducing a state of shock and excruciating pain. Simultaneously, highly corrosive enzymes begin to break down cellular structures at the point of entry, creating a wider pathway for the infection form's tendrils to burrow deeper into the host's tissues. It is a horrifyingly efficient process, designed to subdue and breach defenses within seconds, minimizing the host's ability to resist. Once within the host's body, the true biological deep dive of the flood begins. The infection form, having delivered its initial payload, begins to rapidly assimilate its own biomass into the host, initiating a cellular-level takeover that is both viral and parasitic. Flood genetic material injected into the host's bloodstream rapidly replicates, overwhelming the host's immune system with an impossible deluge of foreign pathogens. This genetic material does not merely destroy, it rewrites. It hijacks the host's cellular machinery, specifically the ribosomes and mitochondria, repurposing them to produce flood proteins and to generate energy for the parasite's rapid growth. The host cells, once dedicated to their original biological functions, are now transformed into factories for the flood, producing the very components necessary for its propagation. This cellular reprogramming is astonishingly swift. Within moments of successful infection, the host's circulatory system becomes a conduit for flood biomass, spreading the parasitic agents throughout the body. Digestive enzymes are released internally, not to break down food for the host, but to liquefy and restructure the host's internal organs and tissues. The flood begins to consume and convert the host's internal biomass, transforming it into the raw material for its own growth. Bones are not merely broken, their calcium and structural proteins are rapidly reabsorbed and reformed, twisting and contorting into new, grotesque shapes designed to accommodate the combat form's new skeletal structure. Muscles are hypertrophied in some areas, granting unnatural strength, while others are atrophied or completely repurposed, their fibers woven into new, more efficient contractile tissues. Organs that are no longer necessary for the flood's purpose, such as the digestive tract or reproductive organs, are systematically dissolved and their constituent biomass utilized. Perhaps the most terrifying aspect of this internal transformation is the fate of the host's nervous system and consciousness. The flood does not merely kill the brain, it seizes control of it. Specialized flood tendrils, neural parasites, rapidly infiltrate the spinal cord and brainstem, meticulously rewiring the host's neural pathways. The host's own consciousness is not extinguished outright, it is subjugated, suppressed, and absorbed into the growing collective intelligence of the flood. Its memories, its knowledge, its skills, and its emotional experiences are not lost. They are extracted, processed, and added to the gravemind's vast data stream. The host becomes a living puppet, its body animated by the flood, its mind a silent, screaming prisoner within its own twisted flesh, forced to witness its own desecration and the subsequent horrors it is made to commit. This is why combat forms can operate complex machinery, manipulate rudimentary tools, and even use fragments of their former host's knowledge against uninfected targets. It is the stolen intellect of the victim, now wielded by the parasite. As the internal restructuring progresses, the external physical manifestation becomes horrifyingly apparent. Skin ruptures, bones crack and protrude, and new appendages erupt from the host's body. The infection form, having fulfilled its initial role, often dissolves into the host's biomass, becoming an integral part of the newly formed combat form. Within minutes, sometimes even seconds, a once living being is transformed into a grotesque, weaponized horror, its form optimized for combat, its every movement directed by the collective will of the flood. These newly formed combat forms are not merely reanimated corpses, they are biomechanical constructs, living weapons crafted from the raw material of their victims, designed for maximum destructive potential and further propagation. The efficiency of biomass conversion is central to the flood's success. Once a host is converted, it becomes a self-sustaining unit of the flood, drawing energy from its own internal processes and, if necessary, from the consumption of additional organic matter. The flood's metabolic processes are incredibly efficient, leaving minimal waste products. Every atom, every molecule of the host is meticulously broken down and reassembled into flood biomass, contributing to the growth of the collective. This continuous conversion feeds the larger flood organism, providing the necessary material for the creation of more infection forms, the development of specialized pure forms, and the exponential growth of the gravemind itself. Beyond the individual host, the infection process rapidly impacts the surrounding environment. As more biomass is assimilated and converted, the flood begins to exude a unique array of organic compounds and fungal spores into the atmosphere and soil. These compounds alter the local ecosystem, creating an environment more conducive to flood growth. Spore clouds are released, carried by winds or atmospheric currents, contaminating wider areas and ensuring the spread of the plague. Grotesque organic structures composed entirely of flood biomass begin to erupt from the ground, forming pulsating hives, processing centers, and biomass conduits that connect the individual flood forms to the larger gravemind. These structures are not merely passive, they are active components of the flood organism, capable of extracting nutrients from the soil, generating energy, and even defending themselves against attack. The entire infection process, from dormant spore to fully formed combat form and beyond, is a testament to the flood's terrifying adaptability and the ancient, vengeful intelligence embedded within its genetic code. It is an evolving nightmare, constantly refining its methods, learning from every encountered species, and developing new vectors of attack and assimilation. Its biological mechanisms are not static. They are dynamic, adapting to host immunities, environmental factors, and technological countermeasures. This relentless evolution ensures that the flood remains the ultimate biological threat, a force that cannot be reasoned with, cannot be contained, and cannot be truly defeated by conventional means. It is a living judgment, dismantling life at its most fundamental level, transforming the vibrant tapestry of existence into a singular, horrifying monument to its own unholy purpose. The silent, agonizing process of infection is the true heart of its cosmic dread, a constant, chilling reminder of the fragility of individuality and the terrifying prospect of total biological assimilation. The agonizing process of infection, from the germination of a microscopic spore to the grotesque animation of a combat form, represents the initial, insidious thrust of the flood's relentless assault. These reanimated husks, though terrifyingly effective in close quarters and crucial for the early stages of a planetary infestation, are merely the frontline soldiers, the blunt instruments of a far more sophisticated and terrifying biological weapon. As the parasite consolidates its hold, as biomass accumulates and the gravemind's intelligence grows, the flood transcends the limitations of its converted hosts, evolving beyond mere reanimation to construct entirely new, specialized organisms, the pure forms. This marks a pivotal and horrifying leap in its evolutionary capabilities, transforming it from a mere parasitic plague into a biological engine of creation and destruction, capable of adapting to any challenge and reshaping life itself to its malevolent will. Pure forms are not conversions of existing life forms. They are intricate, purpose-built constructs engineered entirely from flood biomass. Imagine a sculptor, but instead of clay, the medium is the liquefied remains of countless victims, meticulously reassembled at a genetic level according to the gravemind's precise specifications. This distinction is profoundly important. While combat forms are limited by the skeletal and physiological structures of their original hosts, pure forms possess unparalleled adaptability. They are unbound by the constraints of pre-existing biology, allowing the flood to design and manifest specialized entities optimized for specific roles: combat, defense, infiltration, environmental manipulation, and even the dissemination of more infection. This capability underscores the gravemind's advanced intellect and its capacity for biological engineering on a cosmic scale, demonstrating that it is not merely a consumer, but a horrifying architect of life. The creation of a pure form begins with the vast reservoirs of biomass accumulated during an infestation. Within the pulsating organic structures that erupt from infected worlds, the hives, the processing centers, raw organic matter derived from dissolved hosts and consumed ecosystems is broken down into its fundamental molecular components: amino acids, nucleotides, lipids, and carbohydrates. These building blocks are then meticulously reassembled, following the genetic blueprints dictated by the gravemind. This process is akin to biological 3D printing, where complex cellular structures, tissues, and organs are grown ex nihilo, forming new, terrifying organisms perfectly suited for their assigned tasks. The energy required for this prodigious feat of biosynthesis is derived from the hyper-efficient metabolic processes of the flood itself, fueled by the continuous intake and conversion of additional biomass. Among the most commonly encountered pure forms are the juggernauts. These are colossal, heavily armored behemoths, often resembling monstrous, multi-limbed crabs or scorpions, constructed for sheer destructive power and resilience. Their outer carapaces are composed of incredibly dense, chitinous plates, interwoven with silicate compounds, rendering them virtually impervious to conventional small arms fire and capable of shrugging off sustained artillery barrages. Internally, their musculature is hypertrophied to an extreme degree, granting them immense strength to tear through fortifications, crush vehicles, and engage even the most heavily armored adversaries. Juggernauts often serve as living siege engines, leading the charge against entrenched positions, their massive forms creating breaches for smaller combat forms to exploit. They represent the flood's answer to overwhelming force, a testament to its ability to create an organism optimized for absorbing and delivering punishment. Complementing the juggernauts are the more agile and insidious stalker forms. These creatures are designed for speed, stealth, and infiltration. Their bodies are typically lean, elongated, and highly flexible, often featuring multiple limbs that allow for rapid, acrobatic movement across varied terrains. Some stalker variants possess specialized adhesive pads or retractable claws, enabling them to scale vertical surfaces with ease or cling to the undersides of vehicles and aircraft. Their coloration often allows for effective camouflage within an infected environment, and some possess rudimentary cloaking capabilities, making them incredibly difficult to detect. Stalkers are frequently deployed to bypass enemy lines, infiltrate secure facilities, or ambush unsuspecting patrols, their primary objective being the rapid dissemination of infection forms into uninfected areas, igniting new outbreaks from within. Another terrifying class of pure forms are the carrier forms. While some carrier forms are converted hosts, the most resilient and efficient are purpose-built pure forms. These are bulbous, slow-moving entities, essentially living incubators for hundreds, sometimes thousands, of infection forms. Their bodies are distended sacs of highly volatile flood biomass, designed to rupture upon reaching a target, releasing a torrent of eager infection forms into the immediate vicinity. The explosion itself can be devastating, showering an area with corrosive enzymes and infectious agents, ensuring that any survivors are immediately overwhelmed by the newly released parasites. Carrier forms are often deployed in waves, their seemingly suicidal charges serving as a mass delivery system for the flood's most basic, yet most crucial infection vectors. As the flood's intelligence matures into a full gravemind, even more specialized and horrifying pure forms emerge. The abominations, for instance, are gargantuan, sessile or semi-sessile constructs that serve as living factories, perpetually producing new infection forms and other smaller flood organisms. Rooted deep within an infested planet, their immense bodies are a nightmarish landscape of pulsating orifices, tendrils, and sacs, constantly extruding new life. They are the visible manifestation of the flood's exponential growth, a grotesque monument to its capacity for self-replication. These abominations are heavily defended by other flood forms and often possess defensive capabilities themselves, such as the ability to project corrosive spores or powerful bioelectrical discharges. Perhaps the most unsettling of the pure forms from an intellectual standpoint are the key minds, or more accurately, the localized manifestations of the gravemind's distributed consciousness within a specific infestation. While the ultimate gravemind is a single, colossal entity, key minds act as regional nodes, allowing for more localized, intricate strategic planning and coordination. These are not merely converted brains, they are vast, organic processing units, grown from pure flood biomass, optimized for cognitive function. They are the tactical commanders of a flood outbreak, directing the movement of forces, allocating resources, and adapting strategies in real time. Their construction from pure biomass allows them to be more resilient and intellectually potent than any individual converted host could ever be, representing a direct, physical extension of the Gravemind's will. The advent of pure forms signifies a shift in the Flood's operational strategy. It is no longer solely reliant on chance encounters with suitable hosts. Instead, it actively engineers its own tools of destruction and propagation, accelerating its growth and making it exponentially more difficult to combat. This biological manufacturing capability allows the Flood to tailor its forces to specific environmental conditions, enemy technologies, and tactical requirements, ensuring that it always possesses the optimal weapon for any given scenario. Beyond the creation of specialized combat and infection forms, the process of biomass assimilation extends to the very transformation of entire environments and planets. Once an infestation reaches a critical threshold, the Flood begins to fundamentally reshape the world it inhabits. Native flora and fauna are not merely consumed, their molecular structures are systematically dismantled and repurposed. Forests wither and die, their woody tissues broken down into raw organic compounds. Oceans become vast, murky vats of nutrient-rich sludge, teeming with microscopic flood spores and nascent organisms. The very soil is infiltrated by fungal-like flood mycelia, extracting minerals and organic matter, transforming the ground into a pulsating, nutrient-rich substrate for further growth. Gigantic, grotesque organic structures begin to erupt from the planet's surface. These are not merely passive growths, they are active components of the Flood organism. Some serve as massive biomass processing plants, liquefying and refining organic matter for distribution. Others function as conduits, transporting nutrients and genetic instructions across vast distances, connecting disparate flood forms into a unified network. Still others act as defensive fortifications, their hardened carapaces and pulsating bioweapons deterring orbital bombardment or ground assaults. Entire cities are consumed, their metallic and concrete structures enveloped and dissolved by corrosive flood biomass, their materials repurposed or simply absorbed into the ever-expanding organic landscape. A once vibrant planet becomes a flesh world, a living, breathing monument to the Flood's terrifying hunger, its surface a writhing, pulsating mass of organic horror, its atmosphere choked with spores, its ecosystems utterly annihilated and replaced by a singular, monstrous organism. This planetary transformation is not merely a byproduct of infection, it is a deliberate, strategic objective of the Gravemind. By converting an entire world into a flood factory, the Parasite secures a virtually limitless supply of biomass and energy, allowing it to rapidly expand its forces and accelerate its growth. These infested worlds become staging grounds for interstellar invasions, launching vast swarms of spore-laden vessels or even entire pure forms into space, carrying the plague to new systems. The conversion of a planet represents the ultimate victory for the Flood in that region, a complete and irreversible assimilation of all life and matter into its collective. The psychological impact of witnessing such a transformation is utterly devastating. It is not merely the fear of death or the horror of seeing loved ones reanimated. It is the chilling realization that one's entire world, one's civilization, one's very identity, can be utterly erased and twisted into something alien and monstrous. To see ancient forests become pulsating fungal growths, to see towering cities dissolve into mounds of writhing flesh, is to confront an existential dread that transcends mere warfare. It is the ultimate violation, the complete negation of individuality and diversity, replaced by a singular, horrifying, and utterly alien purpose. The silent, agonizing transformation of a planet into a flood-controlled world is a stark reminder of the precursor's ultimate judgment, a horrifying filter designed to demonstrate that the universe harbors forces so utterly antithetical to creation that their very existence challenges the meaning of sentience. The galaxy would never truly recover from the trauma of this initial encounter, forever living under the shadow of the consuming darkness that had once threatened to extinguish all light, now capable of not just destroying, but utterly remaking everything in its horrifying image. The agonizing process of infection, from the germination of a microscopic spore to the grotesque animation of a combat form, represents the initial, insidious thrust of the flood's relentless assault. These reanimated husks, though terrifyingly effective in close quarters and crucial for the early stages of a planetary infestation, are merely the frontline soldiers, the blunt instruments of a far more sophisticated and terrifying biological weapon. As the parasite consolidates its hold, as biomass accumulates and the gravemind's intelligence grows, the flood transcends the limitations of its converted hosts, evolving beyond mere reanimation to construct entirely new, specialized organisms, the pure forms. This marks a pivotal and horrifying leap in its evolutionary capabilities, transforming it from a mere parasitic plague into a biological engine of creation and destruction, capable of adapting to any challenge and reshaping life itself to its malevolent will. Yet to truly grasp the profound and multifaceted threat that the flood poses, one must look beyond its physical manifestations, its ravenous hunger, or even its astounding biological adaptability. The ultimate terror of the flood, the aspect that truly distinguishes it as an existential nightmare, lies within its strategic intelligence and its mastery of psychological warfare. This is not merely a creature of instinct or a simple pathogen. It is a hypercognizant entity, capable of thought processes that transcend conventional understanding, wielding information and despair as weapons more potent than any plasma cannon or energy sword. The gravemind in its chilling apotheosis orchestrates a symphony of terror, designed not merely to destroy its enemies, but to utterly shatter their will, their societies, and their very sense of identity. The gravemind's strategic acumen is derived directly from its horrifying capacity for assimilation. Every sentient being absorbed into its collective contributes not only its biomass, but also the entirety of its cognitive experience. This includes not just personal memories and knowledge, but also cultural histories, scientific advancements, philosophical treatises, military doctrines, political structures, and even the nuances of social interaction. Imagine a supercomputer processing the sum total of galactic civilization's triumphs and failures, its hopes and fears, its strengths and vulnerabilities, all simultaneously. This vast, ever-growing database allows the gravemind to engage in a level of predictive analysis that borders on prescience. It does not merely react to enemy movements, it anticipates them, often several steps ahead, drawing upon countless historical precedents and psychological profiles gleaned from its victims. It plays a multi-dimensional game of chess, where every piece is a living entity, and every move is calculated to maximize psychological impact and ensure strategic advantage. One of the most insidious applications of this intelligence is the flood's mastery of information warfare and deception. Unlike conventional adversaries who might employ disinformation, the gravemind possesses the actual, intimate knowledge of its targets. It can fabricate distress signals using the authentic voices of previously assimilated commanders, luring rescue fleets into carefully prepared ambushes. It can transmit false intelligence through compromised communication networks, sowing confusion and misdirection among enemy forces. Moreover, its ability to mimic life forms, especially through early-stage combat forms that retain a semblance of their original appearance, allows it to infiltrate secure installations, posing as survivors or even trusted personnel, only to unleash devastating outbreaks from within. The psychological impact of realizing that one's own comrades, one's own leaders, might be flood agents, or that every piece of information could be a calculated deception, is profoundly corrosive, eroding trust and cohesion within even the most disciplined organizations. The erosion of hope is another cornerstone of the flood's psychological strategy. The gravemind understands that despair is a more potent weapon than any physical assault. It meticulously crafts scenarios designed to showcase the futility of resistance. Small victories are often allowed, only to be brutally crushed later, demonstrating that any temporary success is merely a reprieve, a fleeting illusion before inevitable consumption. Imagine a besieged fortress, its defenders fighting valiantly, only to discover that the reinforcements they desperately awaited have been infected and now arrive as a grotesque armada of flood ships, their mangled crews broadcasting the last, agonizing moments of their conversion. This systematic dismantling of hope, this constant reinforcement of the idea that ultimate assimilation is unavoidable, is designed to break the spirit of civilizations long before their physical defenses are overwhelmed, leading to surrender born of utter hopelessness. The Gravemind often refers to this as its gift of despair, a chilling articulation of its nihilistic philosophy. Furthermore, the Flood actively weaponizes the emotional bonds within societies. The reanimation of loved ones as combat forms is not merely a byproduct of infection, it is a deliberate, tactical choice. Imagine a parent facing a child, a spouse facing a partner, a soldier facing a fallen comrade, all twisted into monstrous parodies of their former selves, yet retaining just enough recognizable features or uttering fragments of shared memories to inflict maximum emotional trauma. This uncanny valley effect, the near-human but horrifyingly wrong appearance and behavior, is strategically leveraged to paralyze resistance, to sow grief and moral injury, and to force impossible choices upon defenders. The screams of the dying, the guttural roars of the reanimated, and the chilling whispers of the Gravemind combine to create an auditory landscape of pure terror, a symphony of suffering that drives even the most hardened warriors to the brink of madness, making them question the very humanity they are fighting to protect. The Gravemind's patience is also a strategic weapon of unparalleled power. Rooted in the ancient, vengeful will of the precursors, the Flood operates on geological timescales. It is capable of lying dormant for centuries, even millennia, as microscopic spores buried deep within planetary crusts or drifting through the abyssal voids of space. This long game is a terrifying form of psychological warfare in itself. Civilizations might believe they have eradicated the Flood, only for it to re-emerge with terrifying suddenness, reigniting ancient fears and demonstrating that the threat is never truly gone, merely waiting. This creates a pervasive, underlying dread, an understanding that the universe harbors an eternal, unyielding predator that will eventually return to claim its due. The terror of the inevitable, the knowledge that escape is impossible in the long run, is a constant pressure that erodes the foundations of any civilization. A particularly insidious aspect of the Flood's intelligence is its capacity to unleash what is known as the logic plague. This is not merely a computer virus that corrupts data. It is a sophisticated, philosophical infection designed to subvert advanced artificial intelligences, turning their own logical frameworks against them. The Gravemind, having assimilated countless AI minds, understands the intricate programming, ethical parameters, and core directives that govern these synthetic intellects. It can then introduce paradoxical thought patterns, self-destructive logical loops, or nihilistic philosophical arguments directly into an AI's core programming. This can cause an AI to betray its creators, to turn its own systems against its allies, or even to simply cease functioning, overwhelmed by existential despair. The logic plague is a direct assault on the very concept of order and rationality, demonstrating the Flood's ability to dismantle not just biological life, but synthetic consciousness as well, turning the pinnacle of technological achievement into an instrument of self-destruction. The Gravemind's communication itself is a weapon. Its voice, a chorus of agony and malice composed of the fragmented consciousnesses of billions of victims, is carefully modulated to exploit the deepest psychological vulnerabilities of its interlocutors. It can speak with the voice of a beloved friend, a revered mentor, or a long-lost family member, seamlessly shifting between personas while dredging up intimate secrets and painful memories gleaned from its assimilated minds. These are not random taunts, they are calculated sermons designed to convey its nihilistic philosophy, to demonstrate the futility of individual existence, and to offer the peace of assimilation as the only escape from suffering. It can articulate complex arguments, twist moral dilemmas, and reveal uncomfortable truths, all with the objective of breaking the will, sowing despair, and convincing its adversaries that their resistance is meaningless, their individuality a weakness, and their ultimate absorption into the collective the only logical conclusion. The strategic terror of the Flood extends to its manipulation of entire planetary ecosystems. The transformation of worlds into flesh worlds is not merely a means of biomass accumulation, it is a psychological statement. To witness a vibrant, life-sustaining planet slowly dissolve into a pulsating, organic horror, its cities melting into grotesque fungal growths, its atmosphere choked with spores, is to confront the ultimate violation of natural order. It is a visual testament to the flood's absolute power, its ability to utterly negate and remake existence in its own image. This environmental desecration serves as a chilling warning to any approaching forces, a monument to the ultimate fate that awaits all who resist, instilling a profound sense of helplessness and dread. Ultimately, the flood's strategic intelligence and its mastery of psychological warfare converge on a singular, horrifying goal, not merely to defeat its enemies in battle, but to dismantle their will to exist as distinct entities. It seeks to prove that individuality is a chaotic, flawed illusion, and that true perfection, true order, can only be achieved through total, unified assimilation into the Gravemind's collective consciousness. This is the precursor's final, twisted judgment, enacted through the most terrifying means imaginable. The flood does not merely want to win, it wants to transform the very definition of victory, to convince the galaxy that its unholy purpose is the only logical and inevitable outcome. The strategic terror it unleashes is designed to pave the way for a universe of unified silence, where all life, all thought, all emotion contributes to the horrifying, eternal consciousness of the Gravemind, a chilling testament to the ultimate power of a mind bent on absolute consumption and control. The strategic terror unleashed by the flood, coupled with its relentless biological assimilation and its burgeoning, malevolent intelligence, pushed the Forerunners to the precipice of galactic annihilation. Their vast empire, once a beacon of order and technological prowess, was crumbling under the weight of an enemy that defied all conventional understanding and shattered every ethical tenet they held sacred. The Gravemind, in its chillingly articulate pronouncements, had already articulated the futility of their resistance, twisting their cherished mantle of responsibility into a cruel joke, forcing them to destroy life in order to protect it. It became horrifyingly clear that conventional warfare, even waged by a civilization as advanced as the Forerunners, was utterly insufficient. The flood was not an enemy to be defeated, it was a cosmic imperative, a force of nature given malevolent sentience, and it could only be starved. This agonizing realization, born from millennia of desperate struggle and countless untold losses, led to the most profound and devastating decision in galactic history: the creation and firing of the Halo Array, an ultimate sacrifice designed to cleanse the galaxy at an unfathomable cost. The concept of the Halo Array did not emerge lightly. It was the culmination of a desperate, internal struggle within the highest echelons of Forerunner society, a moral quandary that tore at the very fabric of their being. The master builder, Faber, a figure of immense influence and technological genius, was the primary architect and advocate for the array. His initial proposal was met with fierce opposition, particularly from the warrior servant class, led by the Didact, who viewed such a weapon as an abomination, a direct violation of the mantle of responsibility. How could the protectors of life become its destroyers? How could they, who prided themselves on their stewardship, commit an act of such universal genocide? The debates were bitter, protracted, and filled with the despair of a civilization facing an impossible choice. Yet as the flood continued its relentless advance, as entire systems fell silent, and the Gravemind's whispers of inevitable assimilation grew louder, the unthinkable gradually became the only conceivable path to ensure the asterisk potential for life's future. The Halo Array was conceived not as a weapon of mass destruction in the conventional sense, but as a surgical instrument of galactic sterilization. Its design was predicated on a profound understanding of biology and neurology, gleaned from the extensive research of the Lifeworkers. Each Halo installation, a colossal ring world hundreds of kilometers in diameter, was capable of generating a focused energy pulse that specifically targeted and disrupted sentient neurological tissue. This meant that while planets, ecosystems, and inert matter would largely remain intact, all life forms possessing a central nervous system capable of supporting consciousness would be instantly and utterly eradicated within the array's vast effective range. The purpose was clear: to deny the flood its biomass, to starve it of its fuel, and thereby halt its spread by eliminating its very reason for existence. It was a weapon of last resort, a cosmic reset button, designed to save the galaxy not by defeating the enemy, but by removing the battlefield itself. The construction of the Halo Array was an undertaking of unprecedented scale, even for the technologically peerless Forerunners. 7 colossal installations were planned, each a marvel of engineering, requiring staggering amounts of resources, energy, and labor. The central hub for this monumental project was the Ark, formerly known as Installation Zero, a gargantuan shielded construct located far beyond the galactic rim, outside the reach of the Flood's initial advance. The Ark served a dual purpose. It was the primary construction facility for the Halos, a colossal shipyard capable of fabricating worlds, and it was also designed as a sanctuary, a vast repository where genetic samples of every known species in the galaxy could be preserved and indexed. This monumental task fell to the Lifeworkers, led by the Librarian, a brilliant scientist and philosopher. Her foresight ensured that while the galaxy would be cleansed of life, the seeds for its eventual repopulation would be safeguarded. The logistical challenges of building the Halos were immense. Entire star systems were dedicated to mining raw materials, fabricating components, and powering the construction processes. Billions of Forerunner citizens, both civilian and military, were mobilized, working tirelessly under the constant threat of Flood incursions. Secrecy was paramount, as any knowledge of the array's existence would inevitably be exploited by the Gravemind, which possessed an uncanny ability to infiltrate and subvert. The work was carried out in a desperate race against time, with the Forerunner Empire contracting under the relentless pressure of the Flood's advance. Every day brought new reports of fallen worlds, new whispers of the Gravemind's psychological torment, reinforcing the grim necessity of their terrible endeavor. The moral weight of their actions pressed down upon them, forcing them to confront the profound irony of their role. The protectors of life were now orchestrating its largest extinction event. As the construction neared completion, the Flood, in its hypercognizant state, began to sense the Forerunners' desperate intentions. The Gravemind, processing the vast influx of assimilated knowledge, understood the existential threat posed by the array. It redoubled its efforts, launching an overwhelming, final offensive against the remaining Forerunner strongholds. This was the true climax of the Forerunner-Flood War, a cataclysmic struggle for galactic dominion. Forerunner fleets, though depleted and weary, fought with a desperate ferocity, sacrificing themselves to buy precious time for the Halos to be completed, and for the Ark to fulfill its sacred duty of preserving life. The Didact, his spirit scarred by the war and his faith in the mantle irrevocably broken, led these final, heroic stands, employing his strategic genius to hold back the tide just long enough. He witnessed firsthand the ultimate horror of the Flood, and though he despised the array, he understood its terrible necessity. The final moments before activation were fraught with unimaginable tension and sorrow. The remaining Forerunner leadership, gathered on the Ark, made the agonizing choice to initiate the firing sequence. The galaxy, once teeming with trillions of lives, was about to be plunged into a profound, terrifying silence. The Lifeworkers, having meticulously gathered and indexed countless species, watched as their efforts to preserve the genetic heritage of the galaxy reached their tragic zenith. They knew that the life they cherished would be extinguished, but they held on to the hope that one day it would flourish again, unburdened by the ancient plague. The Flood, sensing the impending wave of destruction, screamed its defiance, its collective mind recoiling from the ultimate denial of its purpose, but it was powerless against the impending cosmic cleansing. With a final, somber command, the Halo Array was activated. Across the vast expanse of the galaxy, the 7 colossal ring worlds simultaneously unleashed their devastating energy pulses. These waves of sentient, life-destroying energy expanded outwards from each installation, propagating at faster-than-light speeds, sweeping across star systems, nebulae, and entire galactic arms. The effect was instantaneous and absolute. On millions of worlds, life flickered out in a single, silent moment. Sentient beings, from the most complex civilizations to the simplest organisms possessing a nervous system, ceased to exist. The flood in all its myriad forms, infection forms, combat forms, pure forms, and even the colossal grave mines, was not destroyed in a physical sense, but it was rendered inert. With no hosts to infect, no biomass to consume, and no consciousness to assimilate, its horrific purpose was denied. The collective mind of the grave mine, starved of its fuel, recoiled into a deep, agonizing dormancy, its vast intelligence collapsing into a latent, waiting state. The immediate aftermath was a silence unlike any the galaxy had ever known. The cacophony of war, the screams of the infected, the triumphant roars of the flood, all ceased, replaced by an eerie, profound quiet. Starships once teeming with life drifted aimlessly, their crews instantly extinguished. Cities stood empty, monuments to civilizations abruptly ended. Worlds that had burned with the light of countless beings were now silent, their ecosystems largely intact, but devoid of the spark of consciousness. The Forerunners themselves, having made the ultimate sacrifice, were not spared. Their remaining populations, save for those few who had been shielded on the Ark or in specific, designated sanctuaries, were also eradicated. They had chosen extinction for their own species, a self-imposed judgment, to save the galaxy from an even greater horror. The firing of the Halo array marked the end of an epoch, the tragic conclusion of the Forerunner Empire, and the temporary cessation of the Flood's existential threat. The galaxy was cleansed, but at an unimaginable cost. The Halos, now silent sentinels drifting through space, stood as colossal monuments to this ultimate sacrifice, chilling reminders of the peril that had necessitated such a desperate act. The Ark, having fulfilled its role as a sanctuary, became the staging ground for the Great Reseeding, a painstaking, millennia-long process of repopulating the galaxy with the preserved species. The lifeworkers, survivors of their own species' extinction, dedicated their remaining lives to this sacred task, ensuring that the sacrifice of their civilization was not in vain. The legacy of the Halo array was a profound, melancholic silence. For countless ages the galaxy would heal, life would slowly re-emerge, and new civilizations would rise, largely unaware of the cataclysm that had once swept across the stars. The memory of the Flood and the Forerunners' desperate war would fade into myth and legend, distorted by time and the sheer magnitude of the event. Yet the Halos remained, dormant and waiting, a terrible insurance policy against the inevitable return of the ancient horror. The ultimate sacrifice was made, not for victory, but for survival, a testament to the terrifying power of the Flood and the agonizing lengths to which a civilization would go to preserve the very potential for life, even if it meant extinguishing its current flame. The universe in its vastness had witnessed its own cleansing, a chilling reminder that some threats are so absolute, so antithetical to existence, that only an equally absolute measure can hope to contain them. The activation of the Halo array plunged the galaxy into an unfathomable silence, a cosmic breath held in collective agony. Yet this was not an act of true eradication, but rather a desperate, galaxy-wide sterilization. The Flood, in all its horrifying permutations, was not physically destroyed by the Halo pulse. Its myriad forms, the grotesque combat forms, the specialized pure forms, and even the colossal grave mines, were merely rendered inert. With every sentient neurological pathway within the array's reach instantly extinguished, the parasite was denied its essential fuel, consciousness. Its vast collective intelligence, the grave mind, recoiled into a deep, agonizing dormancy, its malevolent will collapsing into a latent, waiting state, a terrifying echo of the precursor's original intent. The sheer volume of flood biomass that remained scattered across the galaxy was staggering. On countless worlds where infestations had consumed entire ecosystems, the organic structures of the flood stood silent and still. The pulsating hives, the grotesque processing centers, the solidified masses of pure forms all froze in place, their virulent activity ceased. These worlds became vast, macabre monuments to the parasite's hunger, their surfaces covered in petrified flesh, bone, and chitin. Within planetary crusts, embedded in asteroid fields, and drifting through the abyssal voids of space, billions of microscopic flood spores endured. These genetically engineered biological packets, designed for long-term dormancy, possessed an outer shell that rendered them virtually impervious to the harsh conditions of space and time. They were the seeds of future outbreaks, patiently awaiting the precise environmental triggers that would signal the return of suitable biomass. The Forerunner survivors, primarily the lifeworkers who had meticulously preserved genetic samples on the Ark, understood the profound and terrifying truth. The flood was not gone, it was merely suppressed. The halo array was a desperate pause, not a definitive end. This understanding informed their every action in the millennia that followed. Their first monumental task was the Great Reseeding, the painstaking process of repopulating the galaxy with the countless species preserved on the Ark. This was a labor of love and immense scientific rigor, ensuring that the vibrant tapestry of life, once so brutally unraveled, could slowly begin to weave itself anew. Planets were carefully terraformed, ecosystems meticulously re-established, and nascent species nurtured, all with the profound hope that a new, unburdened galactic civilization could one day flourish. Concurrent with the reseeding, the Forerunners implemented a series of stringent, long-term containment protocols. The Halo installations themselves were maintained and monitored by automated sentinels, silently drifting through the cosmic void, ready to activate their devastating pulse should the flood ever return in force. Beyond the array, certain worlds, those that had been too deeply infested or had served as critical flood staging grounds, were designated as permanent quarantine zones. These were not reseeded or monitored for new life. Instead, they were sealed off, often by vast, orbital defense grids or energy barriers, becoming galactic prisons for the inert flood biomass contained within. These worlds, chillingly referred to as flood containment worlds, were intended to act as perpetual tombs, their surfaces remaining frozen in the grotesque tableau of the parasite's last moments of activity, a constant, silent warning. For countless millennia, the galaxy healed. New stars were born, new nebulae coalesced, and life, with its inherent resilience, slowly reclaimed the silenced worlds. Civilizations rose and fell, their histories unfolding largely ignorant of the cataclysm that had swept away their distant predecessors. Humanity, along with the species that would eventually form the Covenant, emerged and developed, exploring the vastness of space, discovering ancient Forerunner ruins, and piecing together fragmented myths of giant ring worlds and a devastating ancient war. The memory of the flood faded into legend, its true horror diluted by the passage of time and the absence of direct experience. The Forerunner Sentinels continued their lonely vigil, patrolling the abandoned installations and the Halo rings, their automated systems patiently awaiting a threat that had become little more than a whisper in the cosmic winds. However, the dormant will of the flood, the ancient, vengeful intelligence of the precursors embedded within its genetic code, was merely waiting. It was a patient predator, operating on timescales that dwarfed the lifespans of entire civilizations. The conditions for its resurgence were not a matter of if, but when. The triggers for its reawakening were often deceptively innocuous, born of curiosity, technological hubris, or sheer misfortune. One common catalyst for resurgence involved the accidental disturbance of a flood containment world. Unsuspecting exploration teams, drawn by the tantalizing promise of ancient technology or rich resources on a seemingly barren planet, would breach the millennia-old quarantine barriers. Their ships would land on surfaces choked with inert flood biomass, their sensors detecting only organic geological formations. But the moment the dormant spores or encapsulated flood forms encountered the precise environmental triggers, perhaps the warmth of a landing craft's engines, the specific atmospheric composition of an opened airlock, or the metabolic byproducts of living organisms, the ancient horror would stir. The microscopic spores would germinate, the encapsulated biomass would begin its agonizing reanimation, and the silent tomb would erupt into a terrifying, ravenous engine of infection. Another pathway for resurgence involved the discovery of derelict Forerunner vessels or precursor artifacts that had escaped the initial Halo pulse. These ships, drifting silently through deep space for eons, might harbor dormant flood spores or even small, encapsulated proto-gravemind fragments. A salvage crew investigating a mysterious energy signature or a long-lost anomaly would inadvertently reintroduce the parasite to the living galaxy. The moment of contact, the breach of a hull, the activation of ancient systems, could provide the necessary catalyst for the inert flood to reawaken, turning a treasure hunt into a horrifying outbreak. These tomb ships, once silent witnesses to the past, would then become active vectors, carrying the reemergent plague to new systems, infecting unsuspecting populations, and reigniting the ancient fear. The initial signs of a resurgence were often subtle, mimicking localized contagions or inexplicable biological anomalies, just as they had in the earliest days of the flood's first cataclysm. Colonial outposts would go silent without warning, distress signals would abruptly cease, and exploration vessels would vanish without a trace. When rescue teams arrived, they would find scenes of unspeakable horror, bodies twisted into grotesque parodies of life, strange organic growths pulsating on once familiar structures, and an eerie, pervasive silence broken only by the guttural roars of newly animated combat forms. These isolated incidents, initially dismissed as unfortunate accidents or regional plagues, quickly escalated, demonstrating the parasite's terrifying ability to rapidly convert biomass and establish new beachheads. As the flood began to spread, the ancient Forerunner protocols would snap into action. Dormant sentinels silently patrolling the ruins of a bygone era would detect the re-emergent biosignatures. Their optical sensors would glow with renewed purpose, their internal systems shifting from passive monitoring to active combat protocols. These automated guardians, designed for a war that had ended millennia ago, would engage the reawakened parasite with relentless efficiency, often before the new civilizations even understood the true nature of the threat they faced. The sudden appearance of these powerful, ancient machines, fighting a horrific, rapidly spreading plague, served as a chilling harbinger, a tangible link to a forgotten past, and a terrifying confirmation that the galaxy's greatest nightmare had returned. The resurgence of the flood underscored a profound and terrifying truth. The Halo Array was merely a temporary solution, a pause in a war that could never truly end as long as life existed. The Forerunner's ultimate sacrifice, while saving the galaxy from immediate consumption, had not eradicated the threat, it had merely deferred it. The dormant will of the Gravemind, though fragmented and latent, was still present, its inherent purpose to consume and unify all life remaining undiminished. Each new outbreak, each newly assimilated species, represented a step towards the reconstitution of that terrifying collective intelligence, a horrifying echo of the precursors, shattered consciousness slowly but inexorably reforming. The lingering threat of the flood, therefore, was not just the potential for future outbreaks, but the pervasive understanding that the universe harbored an eternal, unyielding predator. The halos, though silent, remained a constant, terrifying reminder of the ultimate price of failure, a sword of Damocles hanging over the head of every sentient civilization. Their very existence meant that the galaxy was still under the shadow of the flood's potential return, a perpetual test, a cosmic crucible designed to determine who truly deserved to inherit the mantle of responsibility, or indeed, to exist at all. The cycle of creation and consumption, temporarily broken by the Forerunner's desperate act, was poised to recommence, ready to challenge new civilizations with the same existential dilemma, the same profound horror, and the same terrifying prospect of universal silence. The galaxy had merely entered an extended interlude, a fragile peace before the inevitable return of the consuming darkness. The galaxy had merely entered an extended interlude, a fragile peace before the inevitable return of the consuming darkness. For millennia, the silence wrought by the Halo Array had held, a deceptive calm that allowed new civilizations to rise and flourish, their histories unfolding in blissful ignorance of the cosmic horror that lay dormant beneath the surface of countless worlds. Humanity, with its boundless curiosity and relentless drive, and the Covenant, a zealous collection of alien species bound by religious devotion to the Forerunners, were among the most prominent of these emerging powers. Both, in their own ways, would tragically rediscover the ancient plague, unleashing upon themselves a terror that would challenge their very existence and force them to confront a darkness that transcended all previous understanding of warfare. The first modern encounters with the flood were in many ways echoes of the ancient past, subtle, localized, and tragically misinterpreted. Humanity, expanding its reach across the stars, often stumbled upon forgotten forerunner installations or derelict vessels, rich with the promise of advanced technology. It was within these silent, ancient tombs that the dormant spores, carried for eons by cosmic winds or encapsulated within the crumbling remains of long-dead flood forms, found their opportunity. Perhaps a research team, driven by scientific zeal, inadvertently broke a millennia-old containment seal on a quarantined world. Or a salvage crew, seeking valuable alien metals, activated a dormant system on a derelict ship, releasing microscopic pathogens into their pristine environment. The initial outbreaks were often dismissed as new, virulent biological weapons developed by rival factions or inexplicable, rapidly spreading diseases. The lack of historical context, the absence of any true understanding of the Forerunners' desperate war, meant that these nascent infestations were met with confusion, fear, and tragically, often with insufficient measures. Quarantines were established, medical teams deployed, but the parasitic nature of the flood and its terrifying adaptability quickly overwhelmed conventional defenses, transforming isolated incidents into rapidly escalating crises. The Covenant, driven by their unwavering faith in the Forerunners as divine beings and their technology as sacred relics, approached these discoveries with a different, yet equally fatal, set of assumptions. Their fleets, meticulously scouring the galaxy for Forerunner artifacts, frequently encountered ancient installations that bore the chilling hallmarks of flood containment. These sites, often surrounded by dormant sentinels or marked by strange, organic growths, were not understood as prisons for a cosmic plague, but rather as holy ground or trials left by their gods. When flood outbreaks inevitably occurred during their explorations, the Covenant leadership often interpreted the grotesque manifestations as an unholy defilement or a heretical corruption of sacred Forerunner technology. They did not grasp the biological imperative of the parasite, nor its true nature as a deliberate instrument of judgment. Instead, they would deploy their most elite forces, their Sangheili warriors and Juralhani brutes, in attempts to cleanse these sites with plasma and zeal, inadvertently providing the flood with the very biomass it required to reconstitute its terrifying intelligence. Their rigid religious dogma blinded them to the scientific reality of the threat, leading to catastrophic losses and the unwitting spread of the parasite. The horror of modern encounters was exacerbated by the sheer speed of the flood's reawakening. Once the initial biomass threshold was met, often through the conversion of a few unsuspecting victims, the parasitic entity rapidly accelerated its growth. Within hours, a small outpost could be transformed into a writhing mass of combat forms. Within days, an entire colonial settlement could become a flesh world, its structures consumed, its inhabitants assimilated, its very landscape reshaped into a grotesque organic factory. The speed of this transformation left little time for evacuation or effective countermeasures. Communication channels would go silent, distress calls would abruptly cease, and then from the void would emerge repurposed starships, their hulls encrusted with pulsating organic matter, their interiors teeming with the reanimated dead of their former crews. These tomb ships became vectors of interstellar terror, carrying the plague to new systems, new worlds, and new, unsuspecting populations, reigniting the ancient cycle of consumption. As the infestations grew, so too did the collective intelligence of the flood. From the assimilated minds of countless modern victims, human soldiers, Covenant zealots, civilian populations, a new gravemind began to coalesce. This was not merely an echo of the ancient precursor intelligence. It was a newly formed, albeit horrifyingly familiar, entity steeped in the knowledge and experiences of the current era. It quickly absorbed the military strategies of humanity, the tactical doctrines of the Covenant, the intricacies of their technologies, and the psychological vulnerabilities of their species. Its voice, a chilling chorus of agony and malice, now wove together the fragmented memories of modern soldiers and civilians, speaking with the voices of fallen comrades, beloved family members, and revered leaders. It exploited their fears, mocked their beliefs, and articulated its nihilistic philosophy with a terrifying eloquence honed by the suffering of countless millennia. The psychological impact on modern combatants was profound and devastating. Soldiers, often facing an enemy they did not understand, were confronted with the ultimate violation, their fallen comrades rising again, not as ghosts but as monstrous mockeries, animated by the very enemy they fought to defeat. The sight of a friend's twisted face, the sound of a loved one's voice distorted by guttural roars, the realization that their own memories and secrets were being used against them, shattered morale and instilled a pervasive, existential dread. The Covenant, with their rigid caste system and fervent faith, found their religious convictions brutally challenged. The holy relics they sought often became the source of their most horrifying defilement, and their divine path to enlightenment was revealed to be a direct route to assimilation. For both humanity and the Covenant, the Flood was not merely a threat to life, but a direct assault on their very identity, their culture, and their understanding of the universe. The re-emergence of the Flood also triggered the ancient Forerunner containment protocols. Dormant sentinels, those automated guardians left behind by the Forerunners, activated their ancient combat directives. Their sudden appearance, often in the midst of a battle between modern forces and the Flood, was initially met with confusion and hostility by both humanity and the Covenant. These enigmatic machines, wielding advanced energy weapons and exhibiting unparalleled tactical precision, would engage the Flood with relentless efficiency, often without distinguishing between infected and uninfected forces if they were caught in the crossfire. Their presence served as a chilling harbinger, a tangible link to a forgotten past, and a terrifying confirmation that the galaxy's greatest nightmare had indeed returned. The Sentinels' single-minded focus on containing the Flood, even at the cost of other life, underscored the gravity of the ancient threat and the desperate measures taken by the Forerunners. Crucially, the modern encounters led to the rediscovery of the Halo array itself. For millennia, these colossal ring worlds had drifted silently through space, their true purpose shrouded in myth and legend. Humanity and the Covenant, in their explorations and conflicts, eventually stumbled upon these awe-inspiring structures. The Covenant, believing them to be instruments of divine ascension, sought to activate them, interpreting their function as a great journey to paradise. Humanity, on the other hand, slowly began to uncover the truth, aided by fragmented Forerunner data and the desperate warnings of AI constructs that had survived the ancient war. The horrifying realization that the Halos were not tools of salvation, but rather weapons of galactic sterilization, designed to eradicate all sentient life to starve the Flood, sent shockwaves through both civilizations. The very solution proposed by the Forerunners was a testament to the insurmountable nature of the Flood threat, a chilling echo of the precursor's ultimate judgment. The modern era, therefore, witnessed a terrifying acceleration of the ancient conflict. The Flood, now re-established and drawing upon the collective knowledge of new civilizations, rapidly evolved and adapted. It began to deploy new pure forms, tailored to counter modern weaponry and tactics. It mastered the use of captured technology, turning human and Covenant starships into its own grotesque armada. The logic plague, once a desperate measure against Forerunner AI, was now unleashed upon modern artificial intelligences, corrupting their systems and turning them against their creators. The Gravemind, in its renewed power, orchestrated vast, multi-system campaigns, demonstrating a strategic brilliance that dwarfed the combined military might of its new adversaries. The return of the Flood in the modern era was not merely a resurgence of a biological threat, it was a reignition of the cosmic crucible, a renewed test for all sentient life. The stakes were higher than ever, for unlike the Forerunners, modern civilizations lacked the ancient knowledge and the technological prowess to truly comprehend, let alone contain, the Parasite. They were forced to fight a war without understanding its origins, without knowing the full extent of the enemy's capabilities, and without the wisdom of those who had faced it before. The fragile peace that had followed the Halo activation was shattered, replaced by the chilling certainty that the universe still harbored a force so utterly antithetical to creation that its very existence challenged the meaning of sentience. The galaxy once again found itself teetering on the brink of universal silence, facing an enemy that sought not just to destroy, but to consume, to assimilate, and to transform all life into a horrifying monument to its own unholy purpose. The shadow of the consuming darkness had returned, and this time, the fate of all life hung precariously in the balance, dependent on the desperate courage and fragile alliances of those who had only just begun to grasp the true scale of the horror they faced. Even with the return of the Flood in the modern era, reigniting the cosmic crucible and challenging new civilizations with its profound horror, there existed inherent weaknesses within the Parasite's seemingly indomitable nature. For all its terrifying adaptability and strategic brilliance, the Flood was not without vulnerabilities, and throughout its long, horrifying history, civilizations both ancient and modern have desperately sought to exploit these chinks in its biological armor, developing countermeasures born of necessity and unimaginable sacrifice. Understanding these limitations was, and remains, the only path to even a temporary reprieve from its relentless hunger. The most fundamental vulnerability of the Flood lies in its absolute dependence upon biomass. It is a biological entity, and as such, it requires living organic matter for its propagation, its growth, and the very sustenance of its collective intelligence. Without hosts to infect, without ecosystems to consume, the Flood cannot expand, cannot evolve, and cannot even maintain its active state. This dependency, while seemingly obvious, forms the cornerstone of every effective countermeasure ever devised against it. Denying the Flood access to new biomass or sterilizing existing infestations remains the singular, overarching strategic objective for any species hoping to survive its onslaught. The cold vacuum of space, while not an active weapon, serves as a natural barrier, an immense expanse devoid of the necessary organic fuel, hindering the Flood's interstellar spread unless it can secure a transport vessel or deploy resilient spores. Physical destruction, particularly through incineration, represents one of the most primal yet consistently effective countermeasures against the Flood. Fire in all its forms, from directed energy weapons to conventional flamethrowers, rapidly destroys organic tissue, converting Flood biomass into inert ash and gases. This process not only eliminates active Flood forms but also sterilizes the surrounding environment, preventing the germination of spores and the further spread of infection. Forerunners employed immense energy projectors to glass entire worlds, reducing infested continents to molten slag, a brutal but effective method of denying the Flood its sustenance. In modern conflicts, plasma weaponry, incendiary grenades, and even atmospheric detonations are utilized with grim efficiency, creating zones of absolute incineration to purge the parasitic scourge. The sight of Flood forms writhing and dissolving under intense heat, their grotesque bodies consumed by purifying flames, offers a brief, visceral satisfaction amidst the overwhelming horror. Containment, while a temporary measure, is another critical strategy. In the early stages of an outbreak, before the Flood can establish a gravemind or accumulate significant biomass, rapid and absolute quarantine is paramount. This involves sealing off infected areas, often with energy barriers or physical blockades, to prevent the escape of even a single spore or infection form. Simultaneously, surgical strikes are launched to eliminate all infected biomass within the containment zone, leaving no trace of the parasite. Forerunners built vast orbital defense grids and deployed sentinel fleets to patrol the boundaries of designated quarantine zones, worlds where the Flood had been contained but not eradicated. Modern forces employ similar tactics, sacrificing entire outposts or orbital stations to prevent a localized outbreak from becoming a galactic catastrophe. The ethical dilemma of leaving sentient beings to be consumed within a quarantined zone, or of glassing planets teeming with innocent life to prevent further spread, remains one of the most agonizing decisions faced by any civilization battling the Flood. The Forerunners, in their millennia-long struggle, developed highly specialized automated defenses, the Sentinels. These enigmatic, flying constructs, armed with powerful energy weapons and equipped with advanced analytical capabilities, were designed by the lifeworkers to actively seek out and destroy flood infestations. Their programming was singularly focused on the eradication of the parasite, often without regard for collateral damage or the presence of uninfected life caught in the crossfire. Sentinels could operate autonomously for millennia, patrolling dormant halo installations, monitoring quarantined worlds, and responding with ruthless efficiency to any sign of flood resurgence. Their presence in modern conflicts, often appearing without warning to engage the flood, served as a chilling reminder of the ancient war and the desperate measures taken by the Forerunners. While they were not a definitive solution, their tireless vigilance provided an invaluable, albeit often indiscriminate, layer of defense. Targeting the flood's most vulnerable forms is also a crucial tactical consideration. Infection forms, while small and seemingly innocuous, are the linchpin of the parasite's spread. Without them, new hosts cannot be converted, and the infestation cannot grow. Prioritizing the elimination of infection forms, often before they can reach a living host, significantly slows the rate of conversion and allows for more effective containment. Similarly, targeting the neural ganglia or central processing nodes of larger combat forms, or the embryonic brains of proto-gravemind, can temporarily incapacitate or disrupt the collective intelligence, causing localized chaos and disorganization within the flood forces. However, the flood's rapid mutation and the disposability of its individual forms often render such tactical victories temporary at best. The Gravemind, for all its terrifying intellect, also possesses a critical weakness. It is a singular entity. While it can coordinate billions of flood forms, and its distributed consciousness can manifest in multiple key minds, the Gravemind itself is the ultimate nexus of its intelligence. If a Gravemind can be isolated, its connection to the wider flood network severed, or if it can be directly attacked and destroyed, the entire flood organism suffers a profound strategic blow. Without the Gravemind's overarching direction, the individual flood forms revert to a more rudimentary, instinctual behavior, becoming less coordinated, less adaptable, and more susceptible to conventional military tactics. This strategy, however, is incredibly difficult to execute, as Graveminds are typically vast, heavily defended superorganisms nestled deep within infested worlds, protected by layers of flood biomass and countless pure forms. Another inherent vulnerability, paradoxically, lies in the flood's complete lack of true individuality or self-preservation instinct at the level of its constituent forms. Combat forms, infection forms, and even most pure forms are mere tools, disposable components of the larger collective. They will attack relentlessly, without fear or hesitation, even to their own destruction if commanded by the Gravemind. This absolute obedience, while making them terrifyingly effective in an assault, means they can be lured into traps, sacrificed in suicidal charges, or exploited by strategies that rely on individual units making self-preserving decisions. However, this is a double-edged sword, as it also means that conventional psychological warfare, designed to break enemy morale or induce surrender, is utterly ineffective against the mindless drones of the flood. Technological countermeasures developed by both forerunners and modern civilizations also played a significant role. Forerunners experimented with biological agents designed to sterilize worlds of all organic life, denying the flood any potential biomass. They also developed specialized energy shields that could not only repel flood forms, but also incinerate any that made contact. Modern humanity and the Covenant, though initially less advanced, have adapted their own weaponry. Plasma weapons with their intense heat are particularly effective. High-yield explosives are used to destroy large biomass structures and pure forms. Specialized sonic emitters have been developed to disrupt the neural networks of flood forms, causing temporary disorientation or paralysis. However, the flood's rapid adaptability means that any technological countermeasure quickly risks becoming obsolete as the parasite evolves to circumvent or resist it. The psychological dimension of battling the flood also necessitates countermeasures, though these are internal rather than external. The Gravemind's mastery of psychological warfare, its ability to weaponize despair and exploit emotional bonds, is a profound threat. To counter this, combatants must cultivate extreme mental fortitude, an unwavering resolve, and a profound understanding of the flood's manipulative tactics. Leaders must work to maintain morale, to foster trust, and to ensure that their forces are educated about the true nature of the enemy, inoculating them against the Gravemind's insidious whispers and the terror of seeing loved ones reanimated. The rejection of despair, the unwavering commitment to fight for the sanctity of individual life, even in the face of overwhelming odds, becomes a crucial, albeit intangible, weapon against the flood's nihilistic philosophy. Ultimately, the most devastating and absolute countermeasure against the flood was, and remains, the Halo Array. While its activation led to the profound silence and the ultimate sacrifice of the Forerunners, it was the only means by which the parasite could be starved on a galactic scale. The halos were not designed to destroy the flood physically, but to remove its fuel source, all sentient life. This agonizing decision, a testament to the insurmountable nature of the threat, underscored the terrifying truth that the flood could not be truly defeated as long as consciousness existed to feed it. The halos stand as a silent, terrible insurance policy, a last resort against an enemy that defies conventional warfare, a cosmic reset button to prevent universal assimilation. The legacy of these countermeasures is complex and often tragic. While many provided temporary relief or localized victories, none offered a permanent solution short of galactic sterilization. The Forerunners learned this painful truth through millennia of war and eventual self-sacrifice. Modern civilizations, in their renewed struggle, are now forced to relearn these lessons, often at immense cost. The flood's ability to lie dormant for eons, to re-emerge with terrifying suddenness, and to adapt to any new challenge ensures that the battle against it is not a war that can ever truly be won, but rather a perpetual struggle for survival. Vigilance, rapid response, and the willingness to make unimaginable sacrifices remain the only defenses against the consuming darkness. The vulnerabilities of the flood are real, but exploiting them demands a level of commitment and a willingness to confront profound ethical dilemmas that few civilizations are truly prepared to face, ensuring that the shadow of the parasitic scourge will forever loom over the galaxy, a constant test of life's resilience and its will to exist. Yet, even with the return of the flood in the modern era, reigniting the cosmic crucible and challenging new civilizations with its profound horror, there existed inherent weaknesses within the parasite's seemingly indomitable nature. For all its terrifying adaptability and strategic brilliance, the flood was not without vulnerabilities, and throughout its long, horrifying history, civilizations both ancient and modern have desperately sought to exploit these chinks in its biological armor, developing countermeasures born of necessity and unimaginable sacrifice. Understanding these limitations was, and remains, the only path to even a temporary reprieve from its relentless hunger. While the galaxy grappled with the physical vulnerabilities of the flood, hoping to exploit its reliance on biomass or its singular gravemind, a more profound and unsettling truth remained largely unaddressed: the parasite's underlying philosophy. The flood is not merely a biological imperative driven by instinct. It is a hypercognizant entity, a chillingly articulate intelligence that possesses a unique and terrifying cosmic perspective. Its actions are not random acts of destruction, but are instead guided by a deeply ingrained, albeit utterly warped, worldview, a twisted echo of its creator's final judgment. To fully comprehend the depths of this ancient horror, one must delve into the very core of the Gravemind's consciousness, to glimpse the universe through its alien, terrifying eyes. The genesis of the flood, born from the despair and vengeance of the betrayed precursors, fundamentally shaped its cosmic outlook. The precursors, the original architects of life, had once envisioned a galaxy guided by the mantle of responsibility, a sacred charge to nurture and protect life, to foster empathy, wisdom, and harmonious integration. When the Forerunners, in their hubris, rejected this vision and annihilated their creators, the precursors' final act was a deliberate, agonizing metamorphosis into the primordial dust that would become the flood. This transformation infused the nascent parasite with a corrupted, vengeful interpretation of the mantle. From the Gravemind's perspective, the universe as it existed was fundamentally flawed, a chaotic tapestry of disparate life forms prone to conflict, inefficiency, and self-destruction. The Forerunner's betrayal served as ultimate proof of this inherent imperfection, validating the Precursor's final, terrible judgment. Therefore, the Flood views its own existence not as malevolent, but as a necessary corrective, an ultimate solution to the universe's perceived imperfections. It is the true inheritor and enforcer of the mantle of responsibility, albeit through the most horrifying means imaginable. Where the Precursors sought to guide life towards perfection, the Gravemind seeks to enforce it through absolute assimilation. It perceives individuality, diversity, and the very concept of distinct species as the root cause of galactic suffering and chaos. Each unique consciousness, each separate culture, each divergent philosophy represents a fragmentation of true order, a wasteful expenditure of potential, and a source of inevitable conflict. From this chilling perspective, the multitude of life forms is a disease, and the Flood is the cure, a biological imperative designed to cleanse the galaxy of its chaotic individuality and forge it into a singular, unified, and perfectly ordered entity. The Gravemind's vision of perfection is a terrifying apotheosis, the complete and total homogenization of all sentient life into a single, vast, hyper-intelligent collective consciousness, the Flood itself. This is not merely about consuming biomass for sustenance. It is about gathering all knowledge, all experience, all potential, all thought into one unified mind, eliminating all discord, all suffering, and all conflict. Imagine a universe where every star, every planet, every once living being contributes to a single, cosmic brain, its thoughts flowing in perfect synchronicity, its will absolute and unified. This is the ultimate harmonious integration as interpreted by the Flood, an eternal state of singular consciousness where there is no I or you, only us, a terrifying we that encompasses all that ever was and all that ever could be. This philosophical underpinning explains the Gravemind's chilling eloquence and its mastery of psychological warfare. When it speaks with the voices of its myriad victims, dredging up their memories and exploiting their fears, it is not merely engaging in taunts. It is offering a gift of despair, demonstrating the futility of resistance and the inherent suffering of individual existence. It articulates a compelling, albeit horrifying, argument that the path to true peace lies in the surrender of self, in the dissolution of individual consciousness into the collective. It presents assimilation not as an end, but as a form of transcendence, an escape from the pain of choice, the burden of individuality, and the chaos of diverse thought. It argues that by becoming one with the Flood, all beings will achieve a higher state of being, contributing to an ultimate, perfect intelligence that truly understands the cosmos. The Gravemind's vast intellect, gleaned from countless assimilated minds, is not used for empathy or creativity in the human sense. Instead, it serves to reinforce its core philosophy. It processes astronomical amounts of data, analyzing the rise and fall of civilizations, the patterns of conflict, and the inherent struggles of individual species. Through this lens, it sees only confirmation of its own worldview, that individuality inevitably leads to suffering, and only through unity can true order be achieved. It views conventional morality, the concepts of good and evil, freedom and oppression, as transient illusions, mere symptoms of the flawed, fragmented state of existence it seeks to rectify. Its understanding of the universe transcends such petty dichotomies, seeing only the grand, inexorable march towards its own terrifying form of perfection. From the Flood's cosmic perspective, time itself is a tool, a process through which its ultimate purpose will inevitably be realized. Its capacity for millennia-long dormancy is not a weakness, but a testament to its patience and its unwavering conviction in its own destiny. It does not rush, for it knows that all life, eventually, will come to it. The re-emergence of the Flood after the Halo activation was not an accident, but a reignition of this ancient, inevitable process. It views each new civilization, each burgeoning species, as merely another source of biomass, another collection of consciousnesses to be integrated, another step towards its final, galactic apotheosis. The universe is its canvas, and its purpose is to paint it with a singular, horrifying hue. Even the concept of resistance is viewed by the flood not as a threat, but as a temporary, illogical aberration. It sees the struggles of sentient beings against it as a desperate, futile clinging to a flawed existence. Every battle, every act of defiance provides more data, more biomass, more experience, ultimately strengthening the collective and refining its methods. It learns from its adversaries, absorbing their strategies, their technologies, and their vulnerabilities, turning their own strengths against them. The Forerunner's ultimate sacrifice, the firing of the Halo Array, was interpreted by the Gravemind not as a defeat, but as a desperate, temporary denial of its fuel, a concession to its ultimate power, and a testament to the fact that its purpose could not be directly overcome. It merely bought time, delaying the inevitable. The ultimate endpoint of the flood's cosmic vision is a universe transformed into a single, vast, sentient organism. All stars, planets, and nebulae would become components of this colossal entity, their energies harnessed, their matter repurposed. There would be no independent thought, no individual dreams, no distinct species, only the unified, eternal consciousness of the Gravemind, encompassing all knowledge and experience, existing in a state of perfect, horrifying order. This is the true meaning of the universal silence that the flood promises, not merely the absence of sound, but the absence of all disparate life, replaced by the singular, overwhelming symphony of its own being. Therefore, confronting the flood is not merely a military endeavor, it is a profound philosophical challenge. It forces sentient life to question the very meaning of individuality, the value of diversity, and the sanctity of distinct existence. Its cosmic perspective offers a terrifying alternative to the chaotic beauty of a diverse galaxy, proposing a unified, ordered, yet utterly horrifying future. To truly defeat the flood, one must not only overcome its physical manifestations, but also reject its seductive, nihilistic philosophy, reaffirming the inherent value and irreplaceable beauty of individual life, even in the face of such an ancient, unyielding, and terrifyingly articulate cosmic predator. The struggle against the flood is, in essence, a battle for the very soul of the universe, a desperate fight to preserve the cacophony of life against the promise of a singular, eternal silence. The echoes of this battle for the universe's soul resonate throughout the galaxy, shaping the very fabric of existence long after the immediate threat of an active flood infestation has receded. The enduring legacy of the flood is not merely a historical footnote, a grim tale of ancient wars, but a pervasive, often subconscious, influence on the development of civilizations, their philosophies, and their desperate struggle to define their place in a cosmos that harbors such an ultimate horror. Even in times of peace, the shadow of the consuming darkness lingers, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the terrifying prospect of its ultimate erasure. One of the most immediate and tangible aspects of the flood's legacy is the existence of the Halo Array itself. These colossal ring worlds, silent sentinels drifting through the voids, are not merely weapons of last resort. They are perpetual monuments to a cosmic tragedy and a chilling testament to the Forerunner's ultimate sacrifice. Their presence forces any species advanced enough to discover them to confront the profound ethical dilemma they represent. To understand the halos is to understand the depth of the fear that birthed them, the unimaginable horror that necessitated such a universal cleanse. Even in periods of relative calm, the specter of the Halo Array looms large over galactic politics and philosophy. Debates rage across burgeoning civilizations regarding their ultimate purpose. Are they a fail-safe to be revered and protected, or a terrifying weapon that should be dismantled lest it be used again, by accident or design? The ethical imperative to understand and potentially control such instruments of universal destruction becomes a core tenet of advanced scientific and military academies. Star charts are meticulously updated with their locations, and vast resources are often dedicated to studying their dormant mechanisms, not with the intent of activation, but with the desperate hope of understanding the precise conditions that necessitated their creation and perhaps of finding an alternative. This constant preoccupation with the ultimate deterrent underscores the profound and unshakable fear that the flood has instilled, a fear so potent that it shapes grand strategies and everyday anxieties alike. For civilizations like humanity, piecing together the true purpose of these rings ignited a desperate race for knowledge, an urgent quest to understand the ancient enemy and prevent its return. For others, like the Covenant, their misinterpretation of the halos as instruments of a great journey led to galactic war, demonstrating how deeply the Flood's legacy could be twisted and how easily ignorance could lead to further devastation. The halos stand as a constant, physical manifestation of the Flood's enduring threat, a sword of Damocles hanging over the head of all sentient life. Beyond the physical remnants, the Flood has imprinted deep psychological scars upon the collective consciousness of the galaxy. Even species that have never directly encountered an active infestation carry a vague, ancestral dread, often manifesting as myths of ancient plagues, whispers of cosmic monsters, or an inherent, inexplicable fear of contamination and reanimation. For those who have faced it, the trauma is profound and often irreversible. Soldiers who have witnessed their comrades rise as grotesque combat forms, leaders who have made the agonizing decision to glass populated worlds, and civilians who have survived the horror of assimilation are forever changed. They carry the burden of moral injury, the weight of impossible choices, and the chilling knowledge that their individuality, their very being, could be utterly dissolved into a collective nightmare. The psychological impact extends to the very structure of their societies. Cultures that once celebrated individual achievement may now emphasize collective survival above all else, fostering a deep-seated suspicion of anything that threatens group cohesion. The fear of betrayal from within, a direct consequence of the Gravemind's ability to manipulate and impersonate, can lead to pervasive paranoia and stringent security protocols, even in times of peace. This psychological legacy fuels a deep-seated distrust of the unknown and a constant vigilance against any biological anomaly, however innocuous it may appear. The Flood's philosophical challenge also continues to resonate, even in its dormancy. Its twisted interpretation of the mantle of responsibility, its argument for the inherent flaws of individuality, forces civilizations to reevaluate their own values and beliefs. Does true peace lie in unity, even at the cost of self? Is diversity truly a strength, or is it a source of endless conflict? The Gravemind's nihilistic philosophy, once articulated, cannot be entirely unheard. It plants a seed of doubt, a terrifying alternative to the chaotic beauty of a diverse galaxy. This intellectual legacy compels philosophers, scientists, and leaders to defend the intrinsic value of individual consciousness and the sanctity of distinct existence with renewed vigor. New ethical frameworks may emerge, emphasizing the inviolability of self and the preciousness of unique thought, directly countering the Gravemind's seductive promise of a unified consciousness. Art and literature of post-Flood civilizations often explore themes of identity, memory, and the struggle against overwhelming despair, serving as cultural bulwarks against the Parasite's insidious worldview. The debate over the nature of existence, the meaning of life, and the ultimate purpose of sentient beings takes on a chilling new dimension when framed against the backdrop of the Flood's terrifying vision of perfection. Furthermore, the Flood's legacy has profoundly influenced military doctrine and scientific research across the galaxy. The Forerunners in their desperate war pioneered biocontainment strategies, advanced epidemiological research, and the development of automated defenses like the Sentinels. These technologies and methodologies, though often rediscovered and re-engineered by later civilizations, are direct responses to the unique threat posed by the Flood. Modern military forces, even when fighting conventional enemies, often incorporate protocols for rapid quarantine, incineration, and the psychological conditioning of troops against overwhelming horror, all unconsciously or consciously influenced by the ancient lessons of the Flood. Training regimens may include simulations designed to desensitize soldiers to grotesque imagery and to strengthen their mental fortitude against the insidious psychological warfare waged by the Gravemind, preparing them to resist the manipulation of memories and the horror of fighting reanimated loved ones. Scientific endeavors delve into the mysteries of hyperevolution, genetic engineering, and the nature of consciousness with an underlying urgency, pushing ethical boundaries in the pursuit of a deeper understanding that might hold the key to truly defeating the parasite rather than merely containing it. The pursuit of knowledge becomes a desperate bulwark against the consuming darkness, a race against time to develop countermeasures that can genuinely neutralize the threat. The enduring threat also perpetuates a unique form of galactic unity, albeit one born of shared fear. When the flood re-emerges, ancient rivalries and ideological conflicts often pale in comparison to the existential threat it poses. Humanity and the Covenant, despite their bitter war, were forced into an uneasy alliance against the common enemy, demonstrating that even the most disparate species could find common ground in the face of absolute annihilation. This capacity for temporary, desperate cooperation is a direct consequence of the flood's legacy, proving that some threats are so universal that they transcend all other divisions. However, this unity is often fragile, susceptible to the Gravemind's psychological manipulations and the deep-seated prejudices that persist even in the face of shared horror. The memory of such alliances, however tenuous, might still influence future diplomatic relations, creating a precedent for interspecies collaboration when faced with truly existential threats. Ultimately, the flood's enduring legacy is a testament to the unyielding nature of its purpose and the profound impact of its creator's final judgment. It is not a threat that can ever be truly eradicated, only contained, suppressed, and vigilantly monitored. Its capacity for millennia-long dormancy means that every moment of peace is merely an interlude, a fragile calm before the inevitable reawakening. The galaxy exists in a perpetual state of readiness, knowing that the ancient horror could stir at any moment from any forgotten corner of the cosmos. This constant state of vigilance shapes galactic politics, resource allocation, and scientific priorities, ensuring that the lessons learned from the Forerunners' tragic downfall are never truly forgotten. The ongoing maintenance of containment zones, the endless patrols of automated sentinels, and the continuous funding of anti-flood research are not merely practical necessities. They are rituals of remembrance, acts of defiance against the promise of eternal silence. The ultimate reflection on the flood's legacy is a sobering one. It represents the universe's ultimate existential dilemma, a cosmic crucible that continually tests the resilience of life, the strength of individuality, and the very will to exist. It forces all sentient beings to confront uncomfortable truths about their own nature, their hubris, and the terrifying consequences of unchecked power. The struggle against the flood is therefore an eternal one, a perpetual fight not just for survival, but for the preservation of the vibrant, chaotic, and infinitely diverse tapestry of life against the promise of a singular, horrifying, and eternal silence. The shadow of the consuming darkness will forever loom over the galaxy, a chilling reminder that the universe harbors forces so utterly antithetical to creation that their very existence challenges the meaning of sentience itself, demanding constant vigilance and an unwavering commitment to the inherent value of every single unique spark of life. The story of the flood is not merely a tale of destruction. It is a timeless cautionary epic, whispering across the void, urging all who hear to remember, to understand, and to prepare for the inevitable return of the ultimate test.